Halloween
Forever.
For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow.
Yeah.
Bicycles to another episode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
I'm Steve.
Guys, expected a bigger pop for that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Expected a bigger pop. I expected. Maybe I didn't expect like a Road Warrior pop, but I really thought there was gonna be something better.
Hey Brian,
from
know
that,
your
'cause
audience.
I thought it was clever.
Know
Yeah.
your audience.
That's true. My audience hates me. But I am excited, guys. I'm fucking psyched because in my mind, listen, it's May. And May is the beginning of summer. And summer means camp slashers. And also summer means pre-Halloween. So, I mean, listen, it's all looking up from here on out for the rest of the calendar year. We've got through the piece of shit months that everybody hates. We've got through St. Patrick's Day with those filthy illiterate Irish locusts. We've got through the piece of shit holiday that is Valentine's Day. Everyone fucking hates Valentine's Day. We're through all that bullshit. The weather is broken. It's nice outside, and it's all gravy from here on out, guys. So let's kick it off right with a little franchise called Friday the 13th. We've been at this almost a year. We haven't done that yet. I feel like it's surprising.
Kind of surprising, but I mean, the wheel giveth and the wheel taketh away.
That's true. We are at the mercy of really Tubi and the wheel. I mean,
And
those
Ben,
are really
apparently,
what
as for our last,
also apparently
as
Ben.
for our last episode.
We've exercised that demon.
We have, or we've opened up a Pandora's box to the point where it's now going to spiral out of control from
I'm
here.
wondering how many suggestions we're going to get from here on out, though, that they're expecting, though, like that they're gonna influence it.
Yeah, like bring Ben back so you can talk about like Sasquatch mating rituals and things like that. Like very specific Squatch related topics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he put the earworm out for that Primal Rage movie, and now
he
people are like,
didn't he? He fucking didn't he?
People are like, oh, we want to see Bigfoot take Forest Prize the Pound Town. You got to do that show.
Yinzer saying Forest Prides is a funny phrase to say with the Yinzer accent.
Forest Hills, Forest Prides.
Yeah.
I find it so appropriate, though, too, that we just had him on, though, and the sequel's coming out next week or this week when this comes out. Like, it's insane.
Yes. Yeah. And I am going to try to make I don't know about you guys. We talked about it really briefly, but I'm going to try to figure out a way to get out to the premiere of isn't it called Bigfoot : the movie : the sequel?
Yes.
I think, which is a very good name. I mean, it's a great title. And if it's any indication, the first movie was a fucking treat. I feel like this is probably going to be good as well.
So if you're listening to this episode on Monday when it releases, it's releasing on Monday the 2nd. That premiere is Wednesday the 4th in West Mifflin. I'm pretty sure like Pittsburgh Dad has posted like how to get tickets for it. So check that out if you can, if you want, but don't buy them all because we're going to try to get some. So don't be rude.
Don't be rude. Don't hoard the tickets. Yes, but that's not
here.
Yeah, scalp a ticket. Tickets outside, just walking past people at the West Mifflin Theater. We'll be sitting outside the Giant Eagle near the cart return. Be like, hey, tickets. They'll be like, tickets for what? And be like, what do you mean tickets for what? But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about Bigfoot. We're not talking about squatching. We're talking about Friday the 13th, where, guys, in the hierarchy of your like big kind of pillar franchises of the horror world, where does Friday the 13th fit for you? Like, is it near the top? Is it, where personally, how do you feel about it?
So for me, I think it's at the top.
Yeah.
I have very
even higher than Hellraiser for you.
Yeah, no, that's just like a personal hobby that I know all of those movies, but I obviously don't love all of those movies.
Gotcha. Right. Sure.
But I have a very, very distinct memory of Friday the 13th Part 6 airing on Monster Vision on TNT.
Fucking same.
And
Yep.
I watched that opening scene, and holy shit, like, it both upset me, and it was one of those things where, like, oh, I'm too young to be seeing this. I'm going to get in trouble if somebody catches me watching this.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think I did the same thing on Monster Vision, and I also remember, and this might be a one of those memories that's kind of like glommed onto another memory, but I also remember watching it on USA Up All Night with Rhonda Shear and or Gilbert Godfrey, R.I.P. Yeah. Because my we watched both as a kid. My dad watched Monster Vision, but he was a bigger USA Up All Night fan. But I do remember watching it on both in some capacity. And oddly enough, 6 was one of the first. 6 may have been the first Friday the 13th movie I saw.
Right. Yeah, I same. And I think we'll talk about it later when we get into it. But honestly, my USA Up All Night, if we're just talking for a second about Gilbert Godfrey and that legacy, my memory is always tied to Toxic Avenger 3.
I was going to say Toxic Avenger and Swamp Thing. I remember watching Swamp Thing and Toxic Avenger on USA Up All Night. And both, also watching, I don't know if it was another Trauma film, and it was either Class of Nukem High or one of the other kind of like Traumaville, like high school. It might have even been like Class of 1984, which I know is not a Trauma film, but it was something in that vein. I remember very, very vividly watching on USA Up All Night.
Yeah, I think at least I think maybe part 2 or 3 may have made Up All Night. So yeah,
probably. Meg, what about you? Where's Friday the 13th fall for you?
So I think in comparison, I just wasn't as familiar with the franchise, and like even watching these, I think I found one that I like actually really really enjoyed, because up to that point I really only saw the first one. So I mean, for me, I've enjoyed the movies, so I don't really have much to compare it to, like, say, if we're comparing like Halloween and Hellraiser and all that. I mean, so far I wouldn't necessarily put it as my favorite right now, but I like it a lot. Like, it'd be like right in the middle or so for right now. I'm hoping, let's give a timeline on this, guys, because I don't want to be that person. So by the end of the year, I will start giving you guys my like franchise top 5. Okay. I'm promising it here now. All right.
It is well established. I am a diehard, for better or for worse, Halloween fan. So the Halloween franchise is top for me. And then, for a long time, the Texas Chainsaw, although it's not as long of a franchise, I'm a huge Texas Chainsaw fan as well. Gremlins, I understand that we're not talking about a lot of movies in those franchises, but Friday the 13th has definitely grown on me. I remember as a kid, not that I wasn't into it, but it was one of those things where I think as I'm discovering my kind of taste and, probably as a child tying your identity a little bit too closely to the movies that you really like I was always all about Halloween and the Alien franchise. Like, those were the ones that I absolutely adored. But and I didn't like Friday the 13th. Not that I didn't like Friday the 13th, but I always thought it was just like kind of a douchey, like, I don't know, jockish version of Halloween in a way. But in recent years, like probably in the last 5 to 10 years, I have learned to appreciate the Friday the 13th movies way, way more. To the point where it might be in that, number 2-ish kind of range for me, behind Halloween. I mean, there's a couple that are in that franchise, or in that tier as well. Listen, I'm not going to get into Ghoulies, but it's up there. But yeah, it has grown on me for sure. I've started to appreciate it's weird to say consistency, but almost none of the Friday the 13th movies are like unwatchable, whereas some of the Halloween franchise movies are wholly unwatchable. So it's like the Halloween franchise, I feel like the highs are higher and the lows are lower, whereas Friday the 13th for the most part is pretty even keeled. Hellraiser, we've established some of them are completely fucking unwatchable. And I feel like there's not really any Friday the 13th movies that are just completely unwatchable.
No, I mean, even the 2009 remake, I don't like it, but it's not the worst thing that's made. But it also just like has no point in existing.
Yeah, it's definitely near the bottom for me. But if that's as bad as it gets, like, I can deal with it. You know,
I honestly still think Jason Goes to Hell is probably worse. Like,
it's pretty fucking bad. But there's some cool like gross out stuff there, and I do like the tone a little bit. It's like horribly paced and kind of fucking boring at parts, but there are some cool kills and stuff. And also, I'm just like a sucker for any movie that has scenes in a morgue with like a coroner kind of thing. Like, I don't know why. I'm just a sucker for that. I think it has to do with John Carpenter in Body Bags. Like, I feel like everything comes back to my love for that movie. But
see, I think I think Jason Goes to Hell would be a lot better if it wasn't a Friday the 13th movie. If it had nothing to do with Jason. If it was just like a weird wormy killer guy, it's a great gross out type movie. Yeah. But like trying to make it into the Jason lore is doo-doo.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. It felt like, and I don't know enough about that movie because it's probably my least favorite in the franchise until 2019, which I don't even necessarily think of as being part of the franchise. I know it is, but it's a remake, reimagining, whatever. Yeah. But I do think that it feels like a couple of those Hellraiser movies that were totally separate scripts that got like backed into the franchise. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody told me that was the case.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. And I haven't done the research either because I haven't seen that movie since probably it came out even.
I watched it. I'll tell you when I watched it. I remember when we were at my brother's wedding in California, and we were like the morning of his wedding, we were all like drinking and getting like prepared for the wedding, getting our suits on and stuff like that. It was me and like my brother and his groomsmen, and it was in October, and there was a Friday the 13th marathon on AMC or something like that, was doing that like Saturday all day, Friday the 13th thing, and we watched like 4 of them that day of the day of his wedding. And one of them, or 3 of, I don't remember how many, and one of them was 7.
Yeah. 9.
Or 9. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That's funny as fuck. That sounds like a perfect wedding day.
Yeah.
If I ever get married again,
he
that's
was married,
what I'm going to do is just put on horror movies all day for everyone.
Yeah. I remember we started in the morning, we caught like the end of 6, and then I think like in the morning, and then we watched 7, 8, and 9, like throughout the morning into the afternoon.
Nice.
So we caught the prime part of the franchise. But all right. In any case, we are going to jump into our picks for the Friday the 13th franchise here in a hot second. Before we do that, if you have any interest in the future in helping us to pick these topics, whether it be suggesting showdown episode topics, which we do once a month, or mini-sodes, which come out in the other weeks, or you just want to see some damn spooky ooky shit on the internet, go ahead and give us a follow over on the social medias. We have at Halloween is Forever on Instagram, Halloween is Forever podcast on Facebook, at Hallow Forever on Twitter, Halloween is Forever pod on the TikTokies, or Halloween is Forever pod at gmail.com if you just want to send one of them emails. But send us this stuff. We'll put it on the list, and then we'll let the fucking wheel sort it out, guys. What are we drinking beers-wise? Does everybody have beers? I know I got a beers.
I got beers.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Steve.
Okay, so I got a weird one. My friend Katie brought this back from her trip in Oklahoma, and it's called Moon Catacomb by the Heirloom Rustic Ales out of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, I've heard of them. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've had any of the beers,
but it comes. She brought it back in this weird little 8-ounce crowlet.
I know. I was gonna say that's a baby guy.
Well, that's what the way you were holding it, I was like, God damn, Steve, you got giant hands.
I make the kind look small in my hands.
really did. Look, Andre the Giant hands. I never noticed.
But so I guess she was at this craft beer bar, and they do these 8-ounce crowlets, and they just come in like these little Grenado cans, and it's called the Oak and Ore craft ale. So yeah,
I'm very intrigued.
It's
what style is it? Yeah.
So the beer itself is a imperial pastry stout that is 10%. And it is
sounds about right.
And
can I say sounds about right?
You can say that, but hold on. And it's cold conditioned on 3,491 Oreos.
Oh my fucking god! My body's hurting.
You're a garbage can.
Yes,
that sounds disgusting.
Give me the garbage.
God damn it. Yeah, you said it like you were going to redeem yourself, but then you were like, and then it was aged on just mashed up sweaty fudge.
Yeah. Vegan fudge, Brian.
Oh,
excuse me, that makes it so much better.
Now I get your angle. Yeah. Is it good?
Yeah.
There's a lot of build up for
Yeah. Well, I've never had it before. I was just drinking it tonight because it was in my fridge. But it's like I've had better. Like even just out of Oklahoma, I've had better. The Prairie Double Dunk. That's actually
Prairie fucks. I like Prairie a lot.
Yeah, their Double Dunk is actually a really good Oreo, and it's probably my favorite that I've had. Mm-hmm. But I mean, also everybody who's in Pittsburgh knows about the Hitchhiker Oreo Speedwagon, and I think that's better than what I'm drinking right now.
But that's also a great name for a beer. I'm gonna be honest. Right. Yeah, that's
how
a fucking killer
how
name.
they didn't get sued, I don't know, but
oh yeah, they probably got a cease and desist. But I don't know. Something about I love Oreos, but besides Oreo O's cereal, I can't say I've ever had anything that I was like, yes. Or obviously Oreo ice cream. Yeah, I was going to say like Oreo ice cream rules, or just cookies and cream, which is just basically non-branded Oreo. But
Meg, why are you making ucky face at cookies and cream?
I just don't like it. I just feel like it's the most boring ice cream I've ever had in my entire life.
So un-American.
I will let you know that.
You coastal elite piece of shit.
My friend got me the most chocolatiest ice cream like a week ago. It was right after I moved. And I've been just eating that with peanut butter for like a week now. So that's what I fuck with, guys. Like, I mean, all the chocolate, but then just throw some peanut butter in it.
Well, there is not an ice cream that doesn't benefit from adding peanut butter to it. And I firmly believe that. I love all ice cream, even like but maybe with the exception of like a fruit ice cream, because I do like a fruit ice cream, like a black raspberry ice cream or something.
You know what I've been really fucking with that I'll actively buy regularly is that Jenny's brand, but it's like this like peaches and cream, but it has like biscuits in it.
Oh fuck yeah,
dude!
Chunks. I like a chunky ice cream. I like things in my ice cream.
Yep.
Aren't they that brand from Ohio?
I don't know.
Is Jenny's from Ohio? I thought they were from Ohio, and then like because I'm pretty sure they are because they had a listeria scare many years ago. Because they do things all natural and everything. So like, you know, I mean, we've all heard of Brunton's milk having listeria as well. So I don't know. It's not a big deal. You just poop a little bit. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be all right. I eat old ham salad all the time.
Yeah.
You could tell we're talking that Steve started the beer discussion because we ended up on fucking ice cream.
Yeah. Garbage.
What do you got, Meg?
So I'm drinking. I have just a few more cans left from my Austin trip, and I'm drinking the Big Bark from
Live Oak.
Live Oak.
Yeah.
Jesus. And it's pretty fucking delicious. It's just like this like nice amby loggy boy.
I know. So underappreciated. Just a good old Vienna ass lager, I think is what they call it. Or maybe they call it a Märzen. I don't know, but it's good as hell. I am drinking a beer from our lovely friend Malcolm. Made this over at Hop Farm Brewing. It is called Pub Games, which is in 4% English dark mild. Yeah, it is super straightforward, just like slightly toasty, biscuity. Excuse me, I have hiccups. Toasty, biscuity, little tiny bit of kind of roast edges to it, but just like a real easy drinking English mild. You could drink about 100 of them, which is nice. I also have his Helles as well, which I'm going to drink after this, called Porch Beer, which is I had one at the pub, and it's pretty nice as well. So, so the opposite of Oreo cake fucks, Oreo cake farts. We're going mild and Helles.
My beers for getting wasted and playing Call of Duty, and Brian's beers for getting not so wasted and playing darts. So,
I was going to say, or playing solitaire. Yeah, darts is more generous, but yes.
Well, you said English, and that's immediately what comes to mind.
That's true. That's true. Well, yes, let us get into the movies, guys. So, as the reigning champ, two-time repeat reigning champ. Listen, I'm not mincing words here. I'm just going to say it the fucking way that it is. That's the reality of the situation.
Your energy is like up here, Brian.
This 4%'s getting to me. More, okay? This 4%'s getting to me. Listen, I'm feeling champ vibes right now, but
when I do the shimmy shake, I feel like that's where you're at.
Yeah,
you're at the shimmy shake level.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I'm kind of posturing. I do think, though, despite the fact this may come back to bite me, I do think it's probably appropriate that we go in chronological order of our picks. Like I said, I don't know if this is me acting against my best interest, but I do think it probably makes sense to go in chronological order. So that being said, Meg is picked the first movie in the franchise, Friday the 13th, and then Steve's got part 4, and then I have part 6. So I think we'll go in that order. I don't know that, like I said, that's going to benefit me too much, but I feel like that otherwise it's going to bother me, and I don't know why. And like I said, I'm probably sabotaging myself. But that said, for those of you who are new to this kind of concept here, we're each going to talk about our movies. We're going to argue which one is the best, and at the end we're going to vote, and if we all vote for our own, so be it. That's what typically happens. If not, then obviously that'll help dictate who wins. But if we do all vote for our own movies, which does typically happen, then we will go to our second pick and then figure out who wins. And if it does end up in a tie, which has never happened before but has almost happened before, it will go to the listeners on the social medias to decide who takes home the motherfucking championship belt for the month. So, with all that being said, Meg, the floor is yours.
Fuck yeah, it is. Let's fucking go. So, I actually felt like I'm glad we're doing this way too, because I felt the same thing. I was like, yeah, makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, what I love about just the original a lot is that it hits a lot of like tropes that we then learn to like really love throughout other movies, but also it like sets the stage for every other movie that happens. Like, we get to learn a lot of the background. Like, when we're opening it, we really get introduced from the get-go about what Camp Crystal Lake is. So we start out in 1958, and we learned that night is when 2 camp counselors end up getting murdered, but it was the year prior where a young boy gets murdered in 1957. So now jump to, I'm pretty sure what we're dealing with, 1980 at this point, if I remember correctly. And we're getting introduced to when the camp is being reopened by a gentle sir named Steve, and I forget his last name off the top of my head, but
Christie. Steve Christie.
Yeah, yes.
Gentle sir, I would not say, though, because this is something where it wouldn't happen in nowadays, because local childless, wifeless pervert reopens murder camp. That doesn't fly in 2022.
With express purpose of grooming young girls. That is essentially what Mr. Christie does. Mm-hmm. And he wears very short shorts and never wears a shirt. Mm-hmm. Like a Glenjamin Danzig. He never wears a shirt.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Now it's all ruined. It's what I call
well, no one ever said
Just fine.
Steve Christie is the hero of the movie.
Yeah, he's not the hero of the movie.
No, he's not.
No, he's a piece of shit. Fuck him.
He is just a person
He is
who reopened the camp.
Yes, that's it.
He's
He
human
really
being.
actually is in a lot of ways, the asshole who opened the Pandora's box.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. With no regard really to any of the local lore. So as all the counselors are coming in, they're constantly saying that everyone in town is like, this is Camp Blood, so they have that in the back of their head, yet every other instinct inside of them, maybe it was Steve leading up to it, like we don't clearly know that, but like he probably sold it as like, no, nothing's wrong, everything's great, we're just going to reopen this, it's a beautiful fucking camp, so everyone shows up though, and it's still kind of in disarray, and they're like, oh, so we have to like clean everything and rebuild everything for you. Cool. That takes up, I think, a lot of the time. But throughout that period, our first primary kill besides the first two counselors in 58 is Annie. So Annie was supposed to be the cook for the camp. And as she's coming into town, she gets dropped off at basically the main street leading into the camp, and then gets picked up by our presumed killer at that point. And clearly it is. And she ends up getting killed pretty quick. And so then we're back at the camp. Basically, all the counselors are, doing their typical teenage stuff. There's a lot of, ass grabbing, macking, like, hey, this is our fun summer. We're going to have this summer.
Casual racism.
Yeah, all the things. Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's like hard to talk about that, like these movies, because like you're like, this would literally never, we would not be able to have this movie.
No, this
today,
movie is 1980 schlock, and casual racism and or homophobia are in all of these movies. Like it's never not going to be there, I feel like.
At this point, it's a given that all of this stuff.
Yeah. I will say two things in the first couple scenes in this movie. One, I do appreciate the how singing Jesus songs in the cabin together makes everyone super horny. There is some sort of like deep-seated, like repressed religious trauma that speaks to me in that capacity. I
was going to ask that.
And then
did you notice though in that scene too, like where the girl that's playing guitar that obviously got up and left, she like literally actually wasn't, and I don't know why this like caught me, where I was like, oh, this is a great scene. Yeah, they're singing songs and blah, blah, blah. Great camp stuff. And then you just see her stop, but the music's still playing. You're like, oh, those type of things stick out to me.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like, man, all this religious singing is making me horny.
Well, Michael rowing his boat ashore. That's just like a real, like it's a metaphor, because
it's Michael's, a thinly veiled, sexual metaphor.
Michael's boat, that's his boner, and then like the shore is like it's wet, so he's like rowing his boat ashore into the wetness. So
it's all on the surface.
And that's how it gets teens plumped up.
I did not go to any sort of religious school, but I will accept these terms at this point.
Also, I do like, I have always known that there is a lot of, this movie. I mean, the director, Sean Cunningham, has come out and said flat out, like, yeah, this was a Halloween ripoff in a lot of ways. And I knew there was obviously Texas Chainsaw elements to it, but I didn't realize until this watch how many Psycho elements are ripped off too.
The first score is so strong. Yeah.
I know the Harry Manfredini thing was like heavily influenced by Hitchcock scores. But I don't know how I never realized in the past that like the fact that Annie is set up very much to be the protagonist, and they desperately want you to like her, and then they kill her off is a straightforward Psycho ripoff. Yeah.
The only thing I don't love about the whole setup with Annie, like I like the fact that they do try to set you up that she's going to be the protagonist and everything. And I don't like it, but I also see how it works, is that she's in the truck with the townie. Yeah. And the townie basically gives her the whole exposition dump of why the camp is cursed and is in trouble, and the murders and all of it.
Yeah.
And then like normally in a movie, Annie would carry that information to the rest of the characters.
Right.
But she gets killed before she can do that. However, like, I don't know, that puts us as an audience, that puts us ahead of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets reiterated at the end of the movie as well by Pamela Voorhees. So it's like, I don't know, it's effective, but also I don't like it.
It's weird.
I can't explain it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Steve, I agree. And I think the reason why is it almost feels like three different movies. Like there's the Annie storyline, then there's the Pamela Voorhees storyline, and then there's the kids storyline, the camp, the counselor storyline. And the three of them really don't intersect strongly.
And the Steve storyline.
I mean, they do, but what's that?
And the Steve storyline, because there's a
so
whole fucking
too.
thing with him leaving, and then you see him at a diner. Like, who gives a shit? He should have been.
And he just
should have been
abandons.
killed.
Yeah, he abandons all the people he just hired.
Yeah.
Several of which literally just arrived that day, and some of which are unaccounted for. And he's eating pie and drinking coffee and flirting with an old blue-haired woman at the diner. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Steve?
Yeah. No, I could agree too that I kind of wish Annie had been like our Alice of the movie, but what I kind of like though is that it, I think, created some maybe a little bit of reality to it, because I think instead of it just being like, oh yes, we as the audience member want to see that seamless flow through, we're just now getting to know these characters and understanding the whole situation, I think they're creating this natural chaos to because like if you think about it, like we really don't see Pamela until the end. We just see all these,
it feels like a different
kills.
Movie almost at the end.
Right. But like I think knowing Jason and like later movies and like what he is capable of doing and how powerful, I wonder if like there is some power to creating chaos where no one can catch up to the murder that's happening.
Right.
Like no one can catch up to Pamela. So you're kind of constantly, because what I did have a note is I do think they do a good job in this one of like creating a tension throughout the whole thing, which, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the pluses for it. But I think like keeping things so separate, and like what you said, Steve, I think is a great point, that the audience member does know. You're like, oh my God, like we know something's going to happen. We all know that there's a murderer and you're being watched. But so there's like this chaos that's happening that's like so quiet and calm, but so it's tense.
They lend them to them, like they have memorable characters. Honestly, like as far as a camp slasher is concerned, even considering other ones that were like ripoffs of this or other like Halloween adjacent films, like they have a pretty darn memorable cast of teens in this movie. I do think that, and I think that helps to thread everything together. But the fact that it works and that they were able to retrofit this haphazard story into something that actually makes sense for a longer running franchise story, I think is like a happy accident a little bit, because that stuff was all retrofitted.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this was supposed to be one movie, and then Jason, and then they added Jason in the next movie, and then they tried to reimagine it later and with the next, the final chapter, and then that fucking bombed. So then they brought, Jason. So like, I feel like the story of this movie is a bunch of people like, or this franchise, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. I kind of think it makes it more interesting, is like this whole franchise is a bunch of people like slipping on banana peels towards the finish line. You know what I mean? Like they are just, they can't, no matter how bad they try to fuck up the franchise, they always land on their feet for whatever reason. Whereas Halloween franchise never did that. Like they fucking fell on their face multiple times.
Right. They would fall on their ass, or because like, I mean, the analog for Halloween is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which doesn't have Michael Myers. But the analog to that in this franchise is 5 that doesn't have Jason. But even still, it still is connected to the franchise because it still has like main characters. It still has Jason technically. Yeah. Because like Jason appears as a ghost. So like, yeah, they still kind of slip on the right things rather than completely throwing away. Not that, and again, also 3 and 5 of both franchises are completely maligned because they're great movies. So
Yeah, 3. I mean, Friday 13th 3, honestly, is one of my
no.
ones in the
I mean
franchise.
Halloween 3.
Halloween 3 rules.
Yeah, Halloween 3 rules. I'm just saying, like, they both get maligned.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
One thing I whether it's we talk about this now or later, one thing I did notice that I think like works in the Friday the 13th franchise, maybe a little bit better than the Halloween franchise, is that like I feel like we know Jason's dead from the beginning. So I think there's a lot of exceptions that we make to like why something is actually happening. You're like, okay, he's dead, and there might be some like undead type behavior that is coming out.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Michael Myers not being dead for a period of like majority of those movies, and then like again being like, yeah, we killed him, he's dead, and he never dies. You're like, there's this frustration that I think even in just like the last one that I got, I was like, that kind of clicked in my brain. I'm like, I'm frustrated by this.
It's well established that Michael Myers is a mortal man, but it's always ambiguous with Jason. Like later on it's not ambiguous. He's a full on fucking zombie.
Right.
But even like in the first, obviously he shows up in the last 10 seconds of the, or for 10 seconds in the first movie. And then from 1, 2, 3
and 4.
And 4. I mean 4.
Yeah,
no, 4 he's a full on zombie.
No. 4 is the final chapter because that's.
I know, but he gets the things that happen to him in 4 that he walks away from make it seem like he's 100% undead.
We can argue that when we get to mine, but
okay. 3 he breaks his neck and you're like, oh, he's dead. Okay, like 1, 2, and 3 he's definitely ambiguous whether he's mortal.
Did he break his neck? Because my argument is that because Jason is of a certain, I don't even want to say disability because it obviously works towards him, but he's of a certain physiology that his neck can't be broken, that taking an axe to the head doesn't kill him.
No. This is not the time nor the place, Steve.
No, but this is exactly my point of like saying that like we know clearly the whole Jason story is that he is dead. So that's my point. I agree. So we make so many mental exceptions to, oh yes, no, he's coming back. We know he's just never gonna actually die. He's always gonna be around, for whatever reason. That'd be interesting, just like fan film if they did turn like a Jason version of like a zombie film, like Friday the 13th zombie film. I'd be like kind of into that. I might follow. I would definitely.
I mean, later in the franchise, he's a full-on fucking undead zombie. Like in 6, obviously, 6, 7 for sure, 8. And not like you can see his.
But again, I would never put him in that vein. I would just be like, yes, no, Jason, he's coming back. He clearly will just never die.
Yeah. It's weird. It's very ambiguous for sure.
So anywho, yes, more grab assing, more fun little like summer camp fucking things happen. We have one of the counselors, which I think was Ned, drowning. They get him out, and he starts basically making out with the chick, trying to like give him mouth to mouth. He
pulls a sandlot. Yeah.
Pulls a sandlot.
Yeah.
Yes, is exactly. We have stuff like, the snake being in the room, which I thought was just like a fun, like, because there's a lot of slowness, I think, until we really start getting all of the kills happening. But, fun scenes like the snake being in the room, I was like, there's basically having a pillow fight to kill this snake.
And camp movies, camp slashers, no matter how serious they are, you got to have a bunch of grab assing. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, you gotta have some fun. Yeah, you putting yourself into the feeling that this is still summer camp, though there are no kids here yet. So basically, I think that's kind of a great setup for that.
Although it's pretty sinister in this, and I do forget how many movies in this franchise, even starting with the first one, are like pretty mean-spirited. Like I kind of think about like how mean some of these are. I mean, we'll get to it, but even like some of the grab assing in this is like pretty dark, where like the guy almost shoots her with a bow and arrow, and it's like,
that already happened. Yeah, no, that was Ned. That was Ned. Yeah.
Ned's
Ned's just like basically the camp. He's the camp clown. Yeah. He's the one always fucking around and just like making everyone be like, God damn it, Ned. But he's also a creep. He's a little bit, he's creeping on Jack and Marcy when they're macking near the lake, all of that stuff. But yeah, going along. So one of like earlier when Annie was coming to town, she met Ralph, who is basically like the town loony.
Mhm.
And he's clearly the one that's trying to make everyone understand that this camp is cursed, that everyone's going to die no matter what. And they eventually actually catch him in the camp. They caught him after the cop already came through and was doing typical cop bullshit.
Yeah, I think that.
Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, I think this is one of the tropes, because there's a lot that this movie just unabashedly steals from other classic horror movies. And they're not secretive about it. Like, they flat out, like, Sean Cunningham is, I think, for the most part, pretty forthright about it. But one of the things I think that this movie did really cement trope-wise is the Harbinger of Doom kind of guy. Like, it existed in movies before, but I feel like it really nailed it down a little bit. And the dude, what was his name? Ralph, right?
Ralph, yeah.
Ralph. Crazy Ralph's accent is always so unexpected.
It's so funny that you're saying, like, and you're right, because this is a cementing, like, character, but he's so fucking terrible.
It's so strange. Where is that accent coming from? But if it wasn't like that, it wouldn't stand out and it wouldn't be nearly as memorable. He's like, that camp's got a blood curse.
It's got a blood curse.
It's so weird. It's like weirdly, like it's like a Maine accent a little bit, but also like weirdly like a weird. There's a hint of like a aristocratic Britishness in it too. It's very strange.
But I also think it does a good job at making you feel really uncomfortable and be like almost taken back, because it's like because of how uncomfortable it is, you're like, no, this guy's crazy. Yeah. Like if he had a normal accent like another townie,
I half wonder if like maybe he was if he was maybe like a British actor or something, and like they told him the movie was set in New Jersey, and he's never heard anybody from New Jersey, so he just made something up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna just go out on a limb and just like actively take offense to that idea, but I'm here for it. Growing up in Southern New Jersey, you know,
it's a little
there definitely
bit,
is some thick accents.
It's close. If you really like dissect it, I feel like it's a little bit close to what's his freaking name? His name's escaping me, but a guy from the Munsters that does the bit or does the character in Pet Sematary, the sometimes dead's better. You know, that guy, what's his name? Fucking hell.
Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn, yes. I knew it was Fred or Ted or Ed or something. Anyway, it is almost, that's why I say Maine, because it does feel a little bit like that Northeastern accent a little bit. It's weird. But then there's also so much spit all over his lips and in the corners of his mouth. It's just like, it's such a memorable line delivery.
Did you guys, this reminder, do you guys ever have like an older person when you guys were in, you know, elementary school or high school that just always permanently had like white stuff right around?
Oh my God. I had a basketball coach that I just couldn't even look at him.
Yeah, and it always smelled like something always smelled. But yeah, so he just described that immediately.
It smelled like
triggered
teeth
that memory.
rot. Yeah, it smelled like gingivitis.
Like you're trying to brush your teeth, but it's not working, bro. Like it's not.
Like you got to floss and mouthwash to get rid of a mouth rot smell like
that. Yeah, almost like they brushed their teeth but didn't like spit or clean their face off too, you know? Like
yeah. I had a basketball coach that I'm picturing his face right now. Oh God, it's the worst.
Sorry. You guys triggered that memory. Yeah. You're welcome.
I just never had a teacher like that, thankfully.
I think I had a dentist and like a music teacher.
Oh no, the dentist did it?
Why would you go to that dentist?
Go to a different dentist.
Do you think I chose my dentist when I was a kid?
That's
right. We do live in America. My bad.
My parents took me to a bunk ass dentist for like years. Even to this day, I chipped a tooth and I have like a cap on one of the teeth. Actually, I chipped two of my front teeth real bad. And there's like one you notice is like a completely half of it's a different color. And I go to the dentist now and they're like, who did this to you? Like, and I'm like, that's been like that since I was 10 years old.
Let's keep rolling with this because, yeah, Where was that? Okay, I mentioned Kevin Bacon and Marcy. So right after that, though, this is when we start getting into, I think this is when things start moving a little faster with the kills that happen in this movie. So we have Kevin Bacon's character, Jack, and Marcy. They find a quiet spot to bang it out because that's what good counselors do, you know, and that's also the trope that they need to follow is that people bang and then they die.
Also, it's young Kevin Bacon. Why don't you bang? Yeah. Who wouldn't bang young Kevin Bacon?
Hunkaholic. Yes, absolutely. That was one of my points that I'm going to make at the end is that this movie had Kevin Bacon. Okay, guys?
And this is his first, like, on-screen feature-length debut, I think, too, right?
I think so. It's definitely one of his earliest.
Yeah.
So,
and he gets dispatched in I would say a legendary kill. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. That was like the next thing I was gonna mention is that I actually thought I liked his kill. Like, I actually think when the kills were actually happening, I think a lot of them were actually pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Tom Savini fucking is the star of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still, guys, really hope that we can get Tom Savini on one day so I can just like Google. Like, and just like look at him and be like, can I touch your pec, bro? Like, gonna do it? Sorry, guys. I'm getting off topic now because you guys mentioned Tom Savini.
Sexy man. I mean, sexy man. Come on. Sex
so
Machine.
hot.
He literally played a character called Sex Machine.
If I met him on the street, I'd instantly be like, dude, here's my
He has
number.
a motorcycle.
Like, you want to see my boobs right now?
Yeah, he's got a motorcycle. He shops at Whole Foods. Like,
even better.
Tom Savini
Even
fucks.
better.
We all know this.
Okay. You made the sale. Stop selling.
I've seen him use his bullwhip. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Tom Savini fucking rules.
Okay, I'm going to get quiet now on that one. Moving on. I'm getting sweaty and a little bit warm.
Getting sweaty. I'm getting sweaty too. Jesus Christ. All this Tom Savini talk's making me horny.
Kevin Bacon, Jack. Okay, he is waiting for Marcy to get back. She's like oogling herself in the mirror and like going to the bathroom. But I like it. Basically, hand comes out from over the bed, grabs his head, steps through the bed. She must be okay. Let's take a step back here on some of these kills. That I did have a note on this. Pamela Voorhees must be incredibly strong or incredibly big, but she's not.
No, that's the thing. It's like this movie, I appreciate the twist, and I always love a good twist, and I don't even care if the twist is that like even makes sense as long as it's a good twist. Like I want you to trick me so that the twist is a twist.
Right.
But there's some stuff in this that is pretty egregious in terms of like how did she hold that grown ass man up against the door and then pin him to the door with 100 arrows a foot above the ground, you know, shit like that.
Or even just like her size of like, I mean, even if that's a twin bed, that's still like a lot to like reach around, you know?
Yeah, she's got like a 4 foot. All of a sudden she has Freddy arms.
Right now, but what?
And to hide the fact of who the killer was, that it was Tom Savini's hands that you always see. So
yeah. Big hairy knuckled Tommy's hands. Yeah. I mean, they call him if you've been fondled by Tom Savini, you know why they call him hairy knuckled Tommy.
Big old Italian hands.
He's got fucking big old sweaty Italian hands.
Stop making the sale here.
I woke up this morning, got some gabagool. He has big sweaty Italian hands, and it's funny to pretend that is an older lady's hands.
Right.
Like, what's her name again? She's been in a million things. God damn.
Betsy Palmer.
Pamela Voorhees. Betsy Palmer. Yeah.
Like, let's have some red herrings, but they're not good ones, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, you know,
is
time
red
and
herring
place,
the Swedish version of gabagool?
Oh, God. Yeah, absolutely, actually. Oh, my God. I'm getting too sweaty here. No, but
you talk about Tom Savini's pecs and herring in the same episode, like Meg's gonna have a problem.
I'm actually just gonna leave. I'm gonna jump off the episode. You guys can finish. I'll go finish.
I'm pretty sure the ref starts a 10 count if you leave.
You get timed out.
Okay.
Oh God.
What I was saying was time and place, though. I think it works because I was paying attention. We are paying attention to those little things and stuff like that. I think time and place, no one would have even thought about it, you know.
No,
so
I
on and
remember
so
the first
forth.
time I saw it. Yeah, no, definitely didn't even think about Tom Savini's hairy knuckles.
Yeah, we're what? We're over 42 years removed from.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so we've had plenty of time to rewatch and see all this shit. Although I did see something this watch around that absolutely grossed me the fuck out.
What?
Do you want to share now?
I'll share it now because we're actually kind of on the scene.
Okay.
So you're talking about Kevin Bacon's getting killed in his bunk while Marcy is off in the outhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcy is barefoot in a camp outhouse. And then it's not even Marcy. Brenda goes into that same outhouse later and is also barefoot. Mm-hmm. They are barefoot walking around in a shitty camp outhouse. That is the grossest fucking thing to me.
Oh man, the amount of times I've shit barefoot in a porta potty, I can't even count.
I mean, when I was younger, I wouldn't have thought anything about it. Now, and actually, after having lived at a camp for like a few months, I'm like, yeah, always wearing the Crocs, even in the shower, type shit.
Yeah, but I mean, think about like, I mean, I get it. Now we know better and we wear, flip flops or Crocs or something like that in like a public, locker room or something like that. But like as a kid, I definitely wouldn't have put any fucking shoes on.
Dude, I had planter's feet or whatever it's called, like when I was a kid.
Planter's
and I couldn't
warts?
swim.
Yeah.
Those.
Same.
I had those.
Me
and
too.
Like,
same thing.
I couldn't even go swimming. I couldn't do anything. So I feel like now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, no, gross.
Mm-hmm. No, it is gross. I won't argue that.
I think I mixed athlete's foot with planter's warts.
Oh, I had planter's warts, which fucking sucked because I had to get them frozen, and then I was literally on like crutches. It was fucking terrible.
Really?
Yeah,
that didn't happen
it
to
was
me,
intense. It was intense.
I guess I'm just a little bit tougher than you, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, I let them go till they went the whole way up in my legs, like, and then no, I'm just kidding. But they were fucking really gross. I
was like, I don't think we had the same thing.
No. I had alien eggs in my feet.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. That just sounds like a great movie. I would definitely watch that. So, anywho. Yeah, so then immediately after Kevin Bacon's character gets killed, Pamela Voorhees goes back to, and okay, we already given it away that we know Pamela Voorhees is the murderer. Yeah. She goes after Marcy, but again, they play it off the whole time like you don't totally know. Mm-hmm. She kills Marcy in the bathroom, and then we jump to it's Bill, Alice, and Brenda are all like in like the main cabin
playing Monopoly.
Yeah, which is great.
But then also they're playing strip Monopoly in the most like platonic way. Mm-hmm. Like they're taking their clothes off and they're like in their underwear or approaching their underwear. I mean, one of them is fully in their underwear, but they're acting like it's not a horny thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
no, they were definitely very casual about it. I can agree with that.
Yeah, they just acted like it was like, oh, this isn't really... Yeah, hey, we're in our underwear. Like... Strip Monopoly or strip poker, whatever, the idea is somebody's going to end up fucking, right? That's the idea. You wouldn't be doing it.
And no, that didn't happen at all.
No, it was literally like they acted like they were playing Pinochle. Well, this game's over. Bye-bye. And just like walked out the door. I'm like, what was the end game there? I don't know. Maybe I'm a degenerate. But
I feel like, so in that scene, the guy is playing it cool.
Yes,
he's playing it cool because he sees the opportunity because it's him and two women, right? So he sees the opportunity and he really just doesn't want to Ned this up,
right? Don't be a Ned,
right?
Here.
Don't be a Ned. So he just goes hard reverse the other way and plays it too cool, and just comes off as just like almost asexual of like, yes, this is what we do. Now we take our clothes off, but then it is after Brenda leaves that he starts flirting with Alice. So
that's true. That's true. He obviously had a thing for Alice. I get it. Yeah. It just was like so anticlimactic.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. There just not much happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whatever. It's at least it wasn't being like gross.
Yeah, at least it wasn't over the top gratuitous and
at least it wasn't shoeless people in the bathroom.
Yeah,
okay, like we're past that point. Yeah, okay.
Take me away from that.
Cool.
Yeah, at least it wasn't the burning where they fuck in the outhouse.
Right.
Which rules. That's why the burning rules. I'm sorry. It's grimy as fuck.
Yeah, the burning is gross. I mean, how many times does Jason Alexander talk about his cum? You know, that's...
And like they use the word muff a lot. I don't know.
Right.
Like, the burning is so grimy, and the more I watch these movies, the more I realize how awesome and fucking grimy the burning is. It's greasy.
Sleaze.
Oh man. So we do get a glimpse of, because like Steve, obviously he left earlier in the day. We still don't know exactly what all he did, but he's at a diner getting some coffee, getting some food, whatever he's doing. And he heads back towards town. And we get back to Brenda, and this is where she goes into the bathroom to take care of her shit after they're playing the video games or not video games, fucking games, guys.
Yeah.
Stop fucking me up. I'm going to blame that on you. I'm just joking.
Stop fucking me up. We're both completely silent.
Like not even looking at the videos.
No. I'm eating goldfish. You're like, quit fucking me up.
I was reading notes.
So Steve heads back towards town. Brenda goes to try to like get her shower in, whatever. And this is where she gets murdered. Or she doesn't actually get murdered right then and there. She starts getting stalked by someone and then ends up outside. Lights get shined on her. And I felt like almost when eventually we see her get thrown through the window, like I almost felt like she wasn't fully dead right there, but it's presumed that she does get killed and she's one of the next people murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And then once, let's see, Bill and Alice start going to look for Brenda because they hear a noise and they can't find her. And then they start looking for Jack and Marcy, still can't find them. They break into the office to try to call for help. Oh my God, everything's dead. Like the car is dead, everything, and everyone is now dying. But I don't think they had seen a dead person.
No,
yet.
And this is my biggest sticking point with the film is what it initiates their like suspicion of murder, and like what really starts them being scared is that they find a bloody axe in a bed, which it's so fucking stupid because like one, they've spent all this time, like we've already talked about, with Pamela separating victims and like hiding bodies. Because earlier in the film, you see Ned's body is hid behind a whole bunch of suitcases and things above.
Yeah, isn't he up on the upper bunk?
Yeah, he's on the upper bunk that that Jack and Marcy are underneath. Like they never discover his body. Like no bodies are discovered. But then she just gets careless and throws a fucking bloody axe in a bed. Sure. And that just, I don't know, that always stuck out to me as just a dumb decision. Just have him find a body. Who fucking cares at that point?
No, for sure. I can hear what you're saying. I think I could hear, like, I could come up with an argument for the fact that, like, at that point, we're gonna have a lot more murders happening. So if there was some carelessness, like, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I hear what you're saying. I think there could be an argument though for like, now the bodies are like piling up now. Like people are dying. She's killing people now. So if she's like, oh shit, and drops it.
Yeah, because at that point, who is left to kill other than Bill and Alice? So then just find a body. Find a body.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think they also like.
I'm not arguing too much.
I mean, the goal, it was the end kind of justified the means a little bit from a plot perspective, because the whole thing was setting up to probably one of, if not the most egregious, a movie ripoff, which was basically the Funhouse scene of them finding all the bodies, which is such a Halloween ripoff. It's incredible. I mean, even so far as like the guy swings down, you know, hung by his legs, just like Bob in 78 Halloween. Like it's a pretty egregious ripoff at the end. And then of course they do, you know, the twist with Pamela, which we're about to get to, so I won't talk about too much, but I feel like it was all in service of setting up that thing that is now very much a trope, but started really with, I think the very, very, very beginning of it started with maybe like Black Christmas, and then Halloween really did it like full on dark ride, haunted house, bodies everywhere, and then this movie as well as a bunch of other ones, took it to like hardcore trope land, where now this is like, you just expect this is what happens in a slasher. But at this moment, it would have been a really egregious ripoff of Halloween, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of, I've also, okay, so good and bad, I think, you know, just like looking at it more closely now, is there's a lot of jumping around as far as like where we could pinpoint Pamela Voorhees in this. So like, you know, I think it was, everything happened with Brenda, and then all of a sudden she was like out at like the main road where the sign is and kills Steve. And clearly though, Steve at that point knew who Pamela was. So she has been around, or she must be known in the area.
Yeah.
But anywho, so then we jump back though, and we have Bill starts going out, and he goes look for the generator because power's still out. And Alice stays. So she wakes up, she like looks for Bill, and she finds his rain poncho. And this is where the first body, I think, is discovered, if I remember correctly, by a person, because she finds his body on the back of the door. And at the same time, then right after that, she meets Pamela outside, and Pamela's like, no, it's not that big of a deal. It's so calm, blah, blah, blah. I'll take care of everything. She goes back inside. She sees that, she does then start telling Alice like who she is. She says she used to be the cook, which maybe that's why Annie got killed early on too. I'll just make that point too. Like maybe there was something, but I mean, how would she really know? But it could be a thing.
Well, she said they picked her up as a hitchhiker, and the first thing she says when she gets into the car is, I'm going to Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, in Mrs. Voorhees, as she described herself, Pamela, she says that like, she starts like unloading her trauma, basically. Mm-hmm. She says that she used to be a cook. There was a little boy that was killed, and the counselor should have been watching him, and then reveals that basically that was her son.
Yeah, it was. And then they go. She died, or Jason died in her mind due to their negligence because they were off fucking instead of watching him, and he drowned.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah. So we'll start seeing that she also is like hearing Jason's voice. I'm kind of assuming it's like coming out of her mouth, like she's just like absolutely insane, and she's just like, yeah, hi, I'm Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, she is. I think that's meant to be the case a little bit. Yeah. Yeah,
but then she explains that today was Jason's birthday, which I think, if I remember seeing it pop up, June 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously being a Friday the 13th, but it was in June. So pieces start coming together, and let me see. Yeah, they do go inside, and Pamela, where he sees Bill hanging on the door, and it's like pretending to be a little bit upset, and then they go back. I'm trying to remember exactly. This is when things just go crazy. Mm-hmm. So Pamela goes a little bit nutso here. Alice sees that she's going nuts. They have a little altercation, little fightsy there, and Alice goes to run. She ends up outside near the docks. You kind of like assume that maybe like Pamela's just passed out. But then we have Pamela come up behind her. We see the shadow, and now we have altercation number 2. And this is where eventually Alice gets the blade from her, the machete, I should say, and chops her fucking head off, which I think is like, I think it's just a great kill in general.
Yeah, it's a great effect.
But did you guys have any on subject?
No,
there?
Tom Savini does such a great job. Like I said, he's the hero of a lot of these, because a lot of the kills, like low budget 1980, production, and probably 79, like his practical effects just hold up so good. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason why he's the fucking best, But I will say the twist, if I read the script, I would be like, this is fucking stupid. How are you going to pull this off? But the thing that makes it come together is her dialogue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The dialogue of like, is she crazy? She seems crazy. Maybe she's not crazy. Oh no, she's crazy.
Just like a nice mama.
Yeah.
Like just a mama bear who's just like, I just want to protect my boy. No, she's crazy.
And she sells it. She sells it fucking hard.
Yeah.
And and she has a good physicality, even when she's like chasing her in the woods and stuff like that. But what's her name is I can't want to say Annie. That's not
Alice.
the main. That's not Alice. Alice. And I probably paid attention to it harder this time than I have in the past. Alice really sucks at the low key parts of the movie.
Okay.
Like she's a bad low key actor, but when things get high tension is when she shines. I think.
Cool. Yeah, I can do that.
I mean the whole scene where she's like barricading the door, like taking down the ropes and tying the knots, and just like the panic in which she's like throwing chairs up against it and chairs are falling off. She's freaking out about it. It's pretty great because like she's been more or less just ignored most of the movie.
But I feel like and I think this might be going back a long ways, but like you allude that there's more to her character, and there probably was an opportunity if they wanted to make her be like the leading woman in this movie, is try to build out her story a little bit more. Because what the hints we get that she's from California, that she lived in California or something, and that's the only thing is when Steve was creeping with her, like literally being like, just stay a little bit longer, baby. And she's like, I might have to go back to California to straighten things out. Yeah, well, what do you need to straighten out? I think I'd be more intrigued by like who she is as a person. Right. That could have been a little bit more effective, I think, for her character.
Yeah, there's not much in the way of character development in this in this movie. But if they added more like survival instincts or something, so something that showed that she like if she was the one that killed the snake in this cabin, that would it would also mirror like the ending of the film, because she beheads the snake earlier and then cuts off Pamela's head. It's just there's improvements that could have been made to this movie, but it's whatever. Who cares? If you think of take it at face value, they did a great job, but there is a lot. If you look at it, probably hypercritically, probably more than is fair. It there's a lot that is not earned. Right. I would say, Meg, again, you brought up how would Pamela know Annie was the cook? So if you wanted to set that up, you go to the first scene where Annie shows up to that diner and just like announces herself and says she's looking to go to Camp Crystal Lake. And like in the background, you would have had Pamela Voorhees just having breakfast, and then like you could go back and watch the movie and know that's a little Easter egg, but that's not in, so it's a thing that could be done, but
for sure. Yeah. So Alice decides that she's going to take a boat out onto the lake, which again, don't fully understand, besides she thinking maybe someone's not going to come out and get her. She falls asleep, wakes up basically, and their police is there, and she's attacked by what we know is Jason, but it's played off as like this might just be in her head because immediately she wakes up in the hospital. So I kind of like the way they did that in a lot of ways, because again, there's a lot of like alluding to this mysticism around who Jason is and like what could happen more, that he is in reality, like probably this like undead character. This is a good example of where I think it was a happy accident, because in my mind, that jump scare at the end is just a blatant Carrie ripoff. And then the movie was a much bigger success than they ever thought it was going to be. Yeah. And they were like, how do we keep this going? The killer's head got cut off. Oh, let's bring back the kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. There is the one final shot though of the lake itself. And after Alice says, oh, he's still out there, there's the one final shot of the lake, and like there is bubbles coming up from the middle of the lake, suggesting that there's something underneath it. So, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So you're right. This movie did far better than they thought it would, but I don't know, maybe they had something built in and something in mind. Was that in the original like theatrical cut? It was whatever I watched on Amazon Prime. I don't know. Yeah, probably then. I know there's so many cuts, but yeah. Well, that's pretty much where I had the last of my notes. I think some of the end notes I peppered throughout, talking about it being I think they did a good job about creating fear through tension and like really not knowing. I think Brian, you kind of pointed out a little bit more of the tropes that they did do, and even ones that they kind of co-opt from other ones. So I think it was just still a strong example of just like a good camp slasher too. So it's fun. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Classic. I don't think anybody can argue with it. I fucking love that movie. Among my favorite in the franchise. But yeah, that's the argument I will make against why it is not the fully self-actualized Friday the 13th rendition is it felt like a right place, right time type of movie. You know what I mean? But again, you could say that about the whole franchise, I guess, too. So
yeah, it's definitely thrown together on a shoestring, but it took advantage and it got out of the gates before a lot of things. It was out before the burning. So, it got done, even though it just lifted a lot of things. Because like you were saying, it lifted a lot from Psycho, especially with the way that everything from the killer's perspective is presented in that first person kind of shaky cam. That's so much of, Janet Leigh getting killed in the shower, but then just extended through the whole movie. So, yeah.
I mean, the Annie being set up as the protagonist and then getting killed off early, like that is straight Janet Leigh situation as well. Like, yeah, the Carrie stuff is the ones that it's almost more. I mean, they're more surface level, but I think this time I really picked up on some of the Hitchcock influences. But it is what it is. It's a movie that is very much a product of the time in which the director came of age for horror movies. You know what I mean?
Sean S. Cunningham's nothing more than a prototype of a Quentin Tarantino. That's all it is.
Yeah, but maybe not 1/10 as talented. Yeah, well. But yes, I agree. So, all right, Steve, let's hear about your film.
Yes, I have Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter. Because it was.
I love that Part 4 of 90 is the final chapter.
Yeah, well,
I never get.
Hey, best laid plans, right?
Right.
5 was a new beginning, and then a bunch of other stuff happened. Took Manhattan, but that didn't really happen. Then there was New Blood, and there was stuff in that.
He showed up in Manhattan for momentarily.
Right. Kicked the boombox.
Yeah.
Went right into the sewer like the garbage. But we're talking about the final chapter, number 4.
I don't like all the beers you drink. Yay.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Not all the beers, just like 85%.
Just like almost all the beers.
I literally, I had that little grenade can in my hand, and I had a New Glarus spotted cow in my hand, and I just weighed the two, and I was like, well, I haven't had this one before, so.
Yeah, come on. Yeah,
try the new one on the show. But yeah, Part 4, it starts with a wonderful little backstory montage to catch everybody up if you happen to miss the first 3 movies. And you also get a lot of the kills that happen through the first 3 movies. Some of the better ones, although I do believe Kevin Bacon's is omitted because they probably would have had to pay Kevin Bacon more, and then at that point he was famous, so he would have asked way too much.
Right.
But it catches you up to 4, and really, it's kind of the nice thing about these movies is that they all move into each other. They're like Marvel films in that way. People can follow them that way. 2 and 3 were basically back to back with being directed by Steve Miner, and then 4 picks up right after 3.
Yep.
But it starts with a helicopter, and that's production value.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely feels like the highest production value that this is. I don't know if it's the most expensive one, but it does feel like the one that they took the most. I don't want to say took the most care, but it does feel like it's the highest production value.
It's the one that they went for the most. They put everything into it because they thought it was going to be the final one.
Did you guys, can you briefly give, since you guys are a little more familiar with the franchise, a little background on like how 2 was received? Because I could see it being like, with everything you're saying, even more so if like 2 is one of those like, okay, we did really good. So now we need to go over the top. We need to like put a lot of money into this. We need to make sure, but also because it was supposed to be quote unquote the last one. But
I'm pretty sure they're, at the time they were all universally hated.
Yeah.
Like Cisco.
Yeah, they were considered like really schlocky piece of shit exploitation cinema in an era where people didn't like, where the whole like moral majority thing was big and people were really vilified these movies at the time.
Yeah.
right. Because I mean, they're just like gore fests or like just a lot of killings and okay,
and like
no, I hear you.
Cisco and Ebert hated these films. They called them all like fucking garbage. So yeah, none of these films were well received, but they even still they put their most into this one at the time. Although the other films definitely go way over the top later, but they start.
I think 3 did well. 1 was obviously a bit of a hit. I think 2nd dipped a little bit, but I think 3 they really leaned into the 3D element a lot, which I think got butts in the seats, but I don't know necessarily what it grossed in the box office, but it did feel like they were going to get this last hurrah with 4.
Right. Yeah, so they pick up with Jason being, quote, dead in the barn, that he got axed in the head in 3. They load him up and they take him off to the morgue, one of Brian's favorite shooting places. Favorite scenes.
Sexy stuff always happens at the morgue, you guys.
And then there's sexy...
Especially when Axel's around.
Especially when Axel... There's no way Tarantino didn't base the character of Buck from Kill Bill off Axel. Axel...
Hey, Brian, I have a really serious question for you, though.
Yeah.
Did you ask Kate if you guys could tour morgues for your honeymoon?
I didn't, but I did. We did do some light role playing.
Okay.
I'm
not asking you more questions. I would respect you here.
Just kidding. What movie did I just watch where it had some? I was thinking of something we did on the show, but we did not do it on the show. But I just did watch Killing of the Sacred Lamb.
Oh yeah, Sacred Deer.
Okay.
Where there's some. Or Sacred Deer, Killing the Sacred Deer, which has some very uncomfortable role playing in that way.
That's a man. That filmmaker. We'll get into him someday, but yeah, he's got some hard to get into films. But they're enjoyable. Where was he? We were with Axel at the morgue, and he's a dirty pervert. He's watching
sure is
watching the classic workout videos,
eating jelly donuts or whatever. Yeah,
I think it was a chicken salad sandwich.
Just as sexy to me, guys. Like 10 out of 10.
The way he was eating it when they came in and actually like he had to sign off on it. It just looked like he had a fistful of some sort of dairy-like product, and I thought it was like a cream-filled donut or something, but it could just have easily been a chicken salad sandwich.
I saw a chicken salad sandwich because it looked like there was a little bit of bread and then some green, so I thought that was the lettuce separating the chicken salad from the bread.
Could be.
But he just slops it down on top of Jason's body and like signs off on the paperwork, like could not give a fuck. Yeah, he finds himself macking on the nurse, and, while he's macking on the nurse, she gets completely turned off because Jason's hand falls out from underneath the sheet.
I was going to say, in his defense, she was down to
She
clown.
was. Yeah. She was.
She's going back and forth, though, honestly. I felt like she was very hot and cold in general. And I was hoping she'd just be like, actually stick to her guns, be like, yeah, no, you're a creep. Don't like you. And she still was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, she was like, yeah, let's definitely do it near this corpse. But then, like, I got scared. So
bodies make me horny.
Came to her senses a little bit. And some of that dialogue, good God, is it bad?
Yeah. There is a lot of acting in this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I don't know, it works at times. But yeah, Jason comes back to life. He kills Axel while he's being a pervert watching workout videos, kills the nurse while she's in a medication station. And then, we fade off to the Jarvis family. And it's, we get introduced to, this is like the first time we get introduced to like an actual family and not just teens fucking about.
Yeah, characters that we care about in more than just maybe they're slightly charming. It's actually like, here's their life, here's how they interact, here's a fleshed out character a little bit more.
Yeah, and it even starts with like giving backstory of Trish is telling her mom like, hey, dad was asking about you. So you immediately get the sense, this is a single parent family. There's trouble in the marriage, but hey, the mom's doing her best. And I guess maybe they moved out to, either moved out or just are on a separation out in the woods, for the summer.
Yeah.
So it gets set up pretty well. And then you're introduced to Tommy Jarvis, obviously played by Corey Feldman. Who
before he went completely insane.
Yeah.
You bite your tongue. Corey Feldman's a genius.
I'm pretty sure this movie made him start that Corey Feldman in the Angels movie. Anywho, again, go on. These are just facts at this point.
He has years before he peaks with the Burbs.
You gotta go for it.
I love his portrayal of like the monster kid with the super active imagination, though. Like, it's just very genuine. Obviously, he's a super cute kid, like very endearing, smart alecky. Like, it's just,
I feel like his masks are also pretty dope, though, too.
Oh, yeah. The alien mask or whatever they had was
oh, yeah.
It was great.
It's, the problem is, like, if Tommy Jarvis is creating masks at this level as a child, that means he is on par with Tom Savini, because this is obviously Tom Savini just showing off his portfolio.
Well, this is Tom Savini's back movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this was his first one since the first movie, wasn't it?
So Tom Savini...
He wasn't...
Tom Savini did the effects for the first one, wasn't on 2 or 3, but because this was going to be the final film, the director, Joseph Zito, asked him to come back, and Tom wanted to come back because he wanted to be the one that, that designed how Jason died. Yeah. So...
Which it's fucking, I mean, it's obvious. Like the drop, again, it's like one. It makes the movie in a lot of ways. Yeah,
the effects are so sick in this film. Although I will say there's a funny part in 3 where one of the girls is reading a Fangoria. And she
with Tom Savini on the cover.
Yeah, she flips. There's an article, and so there's a funny reference to Tom.
It was almost like a "please come back" kind of thing. Yeah. Isn't it like the Wizard of Gore episode or Wizard of Gore issue or something?
It might have been.
Just remember that.
But it's real quick, and she flips past the Tom Savini article, but it's very clearly that it's him. But yeah, you get Tommy, and he has his obvious interest in the masks, and he likes his horror and scariness. And then they get word that there are some kids renting the house across from them, and that's when you cut to a station wagon full of your fodder, essentially.
Yeah, really.
These are the bodies. Check them out.
Yeah, these are they're here comes the future corpses. Yeah.
Here we go. You don't care too much about them, but you do get some interest with Crispin Glover's character of Jimmy, and
you really do. I mean, I'm a Crispin Glover fan, so like I appreciate his like super weirdness and stuff like that. But there is no more interesting character in the franchise than Crispin Glover in this movie. Like when you watch it, you think like, oh, he was like a huge part of it. I mean, he was, but he wasn't that much screen time. He just, everything on screen is so memorable.
Yeah, everything's memorable, and he is just sympathetic because, I mean, in a lot of ways, he's playing George McFly before George McFly gets his confidence.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
But it's still a sympathetic character because he's talking to Teddy about how like, oh, he was with what was her name, BJ Betty or something. So, like, obviously, the girl they're talking about has a reputation of being a sure thing, and somehow even Jimmy fucks that up. So, like, you know,
that scene of them putting it into the fake computer, and then the whole beginning of the dead fuck, you know, reoccurring joke is just such an endearing scene for me. I don't know why, just because the other kid is like a dirtball Marc-Andre Fleury, and then Crispin Glover is just so like sympathetic for whatever. Not even sympathetic, but just like, I don't know, realistic. He's just a fucking good actor. I don't know how else to put it. Like, yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing about this franchise is like every now and then they get a really good actor, and it stands out. It stands out when you have a good actor in a shitty film. So,
you could probably say he was like the Kevin Bacon of this film, but I felt like like my only like reaction to him was that like I felt like he was so genuinely awkward, and maybe that's exactly what you guys are talking about, like in him being empathetic, but he was just genuinely awkward throughout it that I felt like was good. He felt like a real teenager versus
he did.
like,
the rosy cheeks when he gets like embarrassed, he's got like rosy cheeks. It just feels very genuine and real.
Yeah. And then the scene, like jumping ahead, like the teens settle in, and then like they go out and party, and they go down to the swimming hole, and like on their way to the swimming hole they meet twins, and so but while they're at
on the way to the swimming hole they meet twins.
But while they're there, you know, like the twins jump into the swimming hole, everybody's swimming, and they beckon Teddy and Jimmy to come swimming, and Jimmy like immediately.
You almost called him Ned because he's pretty much Ned.
Yeah, Ted
and then also
Ted and Ned
in
are the
my
same.
movie in 6, there's a same kid.
Yeah,
like I swear, this is just a recurring character.
Yeah, but they beckon him in, and Jimmy's like, "Oh no, we don't have a suit," and it's like Ned or. Damn it, I just did it.
I know. It's
Ted looks at him like...
I'm just going to call him Ned in my movie, too, because that's pretty much what he is.
Ted looks at him like, you dork, just take your clothes off. Like, it doesn't...
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's endearing all the way through. But, yeah, you get introduced to more characters at the swimming hole in Tina and Terry, the twins. You have Trish and Corey Feldman's character coming to the swimming hole. So Trish gets to meet with everybody who's moving into the house across from them. In the meantime, though, you still have Jason. He's out in the woods killing, causing a ruckus, being in trouble.
Yeah.
kills that hitchhiker. And that hitchhiker, that's one of the things I like about this movie is with Tom Savini coming back, he reproduces a lot of like the effects that made 1 so good, but also like kind of does some of the things that were good of 2 and 3, but does them with his own style. So like when that hitchhiker gets killed, the knife comes through the back of her throat, which is very much, you know, like how Kevin Bacon gets killed.
Right.
So
that's true.
You see a lot of things pop up that like he did before, but he like now he's going to do them better.
And he even does the later where he stabs what's her name, the girl who says "screw you, Paul," you know, and she stabs him up. Samantha, she gets stabbed up through the raft,
right? Kind
of similar to in the first movie when they kind of get shish kebabbed together when they're boning. But it's a cool kill and everything. It's a great scene, except for Samantha. The face she chose was. It's so bad. It's such a bold decision. She literally, it is like an even more insane version of like when PJ Souls does the cross eyes when she gets strangled in Halloween.
Yeah.
With the phone cord, but it's like even more over the top.
It sucks. It kind of sucks because like there's like deleted scenes to this film, or at least like they edited out some of the violence. But there's another shot to that kill that is like a directly overhead shot of the raft. So it looks like a complete aerial camera of like the knife coming up, and like you don't see her making that goober face. So so like
goober, that's a good way of putting it. She has a fucking straight goober face. We should mention that these movies they were the movie franchise that the MPAA made an example of them.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
This one, really like 4, 5, and 6, like right when this franchise was kind of peaking in a lot of people's minds is when the MPAA really started making an example of the Friday the 13th movies, because they were the ones that were getting the most press.
Oh, yeah.
But then you have movies like, other movies that were kind of biting off the same stuff, but they weren't the one at the forefront taking all the hits.
Yeah, whatever it was, like, maybe Nightmare on Elm Street suffered a bit as well. Because like there was a lot of crazy stuff in those films, but maybe
that's true.
Maybe they were cartoony enough that they got past. Because we're talking about how these films got like more mean spirited, and I would say this is probably the most mean spirited out of all of them that I can think of.
Probably there is. Well, except for which was the one? Was it 3 where the guy in the wheelchair gets a machete in his face and then shoved down the stairs in the wheelchair?
That's 2.
Is that 2? Yeah,
I think
you're right. That's
2.
not 3.
Yeah,
that's Baghead Jason. Yeah,
because 3 is mostly like
in the farm, in a barn. And, rural setting.
Yeah, it's not terribly mean spirited, and it spends too much time on the fucking 3D effects. Really, like
yeah, they spent all their time trying to figure out how an eyeball was going to fucking fly at you or whatever.
This one's just like straight up mean about the way it treats people, and like just people getting stabbed, gutted, like so much window action.
Oh yeah. It's like people getting yeeted and yoinked and all types of stuff, and that goes into my movie too. But
yeah, so yeah, there's really only like
spear guns to the crotch.
Dude, you get spear gun right in the dick and then thrown over like disrespected.
And then the spear gun gets
disrespected.
It's so disrespectful.
Yeah, it's the most disrespectful. He gets it stabbed. Unforgivable. Gets stabbed in his dick. Then Jason pulls the trigger. Then dumps.
Then he discharges the spear gun.
Yeah. But yeah, then you have Tina getting yanked out the window and thrown on top of the car, which is a great stunt. Like,
dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
She gets yeeted. I mean, in a very real way.
Yeah. There's one more.
Is there anyone who does yeet and more than Jason? I'm trying to think.
No one eats more than
these
Jason.
Are examples of, Jason eats a lot.
Yeah, no one eats more than Jason. Like you could go into
again. Put that down for t-shirt ideas, guys.
No one eats like Jason.
Like
all you can eat. It's Jason. Like it's Jason with like a Golden Corral like placard like sandwich sign on it that says all you can eat.
I'd love the Golden Corral font, but like says Friday the 13th. Anyway, keep going.
I mean, I'd love to go in the Jason X because I can. Yeah, I guarantee he eats all over that one too. So, but there's one more character that we need to be introduced to, and that's Rob. And Rob is basically he first is introduced as just kind of like a hiker in the area, but he turns out to be the brother of Sandra, who was killed in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh boy, I didn't even. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about. I didn't even make that connection. Like it makes sense, but I just let that kind of wash over me.
Mm-hmm. And it's never overly stated, but like he sets up camp by the lake. He meets Trish first, and Trish kind of takes him down to the lakeside and like brings him to the area. But he sets up camp, and then there's one scene where Jason distracts him, and Rob goes out looking for Jason with his machete, comes back to his tent to find that Jason has smashed his gun.
Mm-hmm. So like bent the barrel of the gun.
Yeah, he broke the stock and bent the barrel like a cartoon. So, but it becomes more apparent that Rob was out there hunting Jason, which kind of sucks for the way it ends for Rob, because like he doesn't really
it's anticlimactic a little bit.
Doesn't do anything really. He gets killed and then screams about getting killed.
You're killing me. He's killing me.
Yeah. So it basically breaks down like after Jason fucks up Rob's gun, he takes that weapon off the table, really, and then Jason finds his way to the house where everybody's partying at and just begins picking everybody off. You get a pretty good introduction where Terry is leaving her sister in the house with Jimmy, and I really love just the shot. Like, she's getting on her bike and there's a rainstorm and there's lightning, and you see the lightning flash and you see her shadow cast on the house, and then you just see Jason come up behind her and stab her, like with some fucking branch or what the fuck ever.
Some sort of instrument, yeah.
But it's just a, you know, one of the more well composed shots in the film.
I'd say so.
Yeah, you just have like a parade of kills from there. Like Jimmy gets a fucking thing in the face, he gets a meat cleaver in the face.
Yeah. The hand stabbed with the fucking
wine cork.
Yeah. And Crispin Glover, like, you kind of feel for him at this point. Like, that's like an emotional kill, because it's not just a quick you're dead. It's kind of like, hey, things are looking up for Jimmy. And then he gets the old corkscrew in the hand and then cleaver in the head. Kind of unceremoniously.
Does Jimmy remind you of like yourself in high school? You have a very emotional attachment to this. You have a very emotional attachment to him.
To Jimmy? Yeah. I mean, first of all, Jimmy's like giving Tina this like post-coitus scalp massage, which is very awkward.
He's like, you're like, I did that.
Yeah. And then
but he's like asking, was he good? He's like, he's very self-conscious. But I don't feel bad for Jimmy, because Jimmy got his nut off. He didn't die a virgin.
That's true.
I don't feel bad for him. He got like
he bursted nerds.
Yeah, he burst nerds. There's a
Jimmy got to burst nerds.
There's a good.
It should say that on his
Jimmy
tombstone.
got to burst nerds.
Jimmy got to burst.
There is a non-zero chance that 3 minutes ago Jimmy peaked in his life. So if he just gets to die after that, that's great for him. He'll never know anything worse. He'll never know the heartbreak.
I mean, there's a lot of people who have died in that same scenario. You know, how many people have died from like choking themselves while they're masturbating, guys? Come on.
Right.
This is like,
That's how I plan
it. But, you know.
Cool. That's awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah. Hey, it's an honorable death.
We're also going to put on your tombstone, burst nerds. Definitely going to happen.
An honorable death. A true gentleman's death.
Yeah. However, if you do go out that way, you have to be buried in an open casket with a shirt that says, I bursted nerds. So.
And if you don't, we will lay one over top of you.
Not just that. The last thing I did was burst nerds.
Yeah, I burst nerds.
Here lies a man who burst nerds.
Oh, God.
Like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't ask questions.
All right. Man. So, yeah, again, just a parade of murder throughout it. And you get a lot of great effects to that. You get the great stunt of Tina being yeeted out the window on top of the station wagon.
Great.
You get
Can we
windows
call the next
exploding
Halloween
out.
Parade a murder parade?
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Fucking hate parades, so whatever.
Let's see who else gets it about that time. Sarah.
The face smash.
Yeah, Sarah and Paul get it.
I think it was Paul who got the face smash, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul gets the face smash in the shower.
Such a great, honestly, one of the most underrated kills in the franchise.
And then later, like, Jason has found his muse in fucking railroad spiking people to things.
Yeah,
because he railroad spikes Paul through the back of the head into the wall for people to discover, and then he railroad spikes Jimmy by the hands.
Yeah, and then like almost
just,
crucifies him across the door.
Crucifies him across the door.
Where she's like can't get out for some reason. You could have just went under him.
Yeah, Sarah runs the opposite. Was it Sarah or Trisha? I think it's Sarah, because she's trying to run after she discovers Paul. And then,
yes, and then she breaks the window and then goes out the other window.
Well, no. She runs. Sarah runs to the door, and Jason throws the axe through the door and hits.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
then it's not Sarah that won't go underneath him. It's Trish.
Yeah, it's Trish. Because then, Trish goes out the window, but Jason just rips Jimmy down like a fucking Halloween decoration in his way.
Yeah, I was gonna say just like it's
cobwebs.
like beads above the door. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's cobwebs across the door. He's just like, I just worked on this, but I'm so mad.
Which again is that is probably the meanest part of the movie when they.
Because they do zoom in on his hands like ripping apart.
Yeah, it's a great effect, but that's also very mean. Like that's just just brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jason chases Trish back into her house, and she's trying to protect Tommy, and you get them trying to board up the door, which is completely made moot because Jason fucking throws Rob's entire body through a picture window.
Right.
Yeah, she does. Yes, it's just that's where you talk about mean spirited is, and I think we might have glanced over this. And forgive me if you were about to get to it, but we also have maybe the only instance that I can think of in film history of canine suicide.
Did it kill itself? Like that? It's the most confusing
the dog
thing.
Killed itself. The dog jumped out the window and killed itself instead of facing Jason.
It's so confusing because the dog is running away. Because obviously it senses Jason, and it jumps through the window. You hear it make a yelp sound, so it almost sounds like it got caught and was killed.
Yeah.
But then the next thing is it jumping through the window, and then you never see the dog again.
No, it was dog suicide. That's what I mean. Is like this movie is just so mean, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, I just wonder, I wonder how that came about. That they just never thought to show the dog was okay. They're just the dog kills itself from the second floor or whatever.
I think that's what they were going for.
I'm going to make up a story in my head that the dog literally just ran away and it's now living a very peaceful life. It's probably actually dead now, but it went on to live a very peaceful life, just living on the lake by itself, that's what I'm going to believe. Fast forward to the
dog, giving the police a statement.
Right.
And he's like, woof, 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 woof.
That's why I was going to say what actually happened.
Give me a treat and I'll tell you.
because obviously at the end of the film, the police show up. So Gordon, the dog, ran off to go get help, and he went and got the police. Like a Lassie. Yeah, he went and got the police.
Well, and then he ended up landing a very successful campaign as the Beggin' Strips dog.
Or Bush's Baked Beans, one of the both.
No, that was a golden retriever.
My bad.
That's how rumors get started, Steve.
But I glossed over that just because I didn't know how to read it. It just it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was a cool thing.
It face value.
Yeah. Face value dog killed itself.
I just thought you were trying to
canine suicide.
Spare me, and you weren't actually. So thanks.
Canine suicide. That's it. That's all it is. Pure and simple.
Well, then Rob.
It's an open and shut case, guys.
Open and shut case. Book 'em, Dano. Dog suicide.
Dog. This was no accident.
His dog was choke jerking.
Canine autoerotic asphyxiation.
Anyway, Rob gets yeeted through the window because that's what Jason does. Jason yeets.
Right. Yeah.
And then he also busts through the window and grabs Tommy. And this is the first time where I think a child is actually imperiled by Jason.
I think you're probably right. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything else. 6, there's plenty of it.
Well, not really even. Well,
there's in peril. He doesn't actually hurt any children, but there's tons of instances of them teasing idea.
It, but he never really follows through with anything. No, he just kind of menaces.
He doesn't.
This one, he actually grabs Tommy. Oh, 6, he just menaces.
He grabs him, pulls him through the window.
Then Trish grabs a hammer and starts giving him the old wallop.
Yeah.
Get over here. I'm going to wallop you.
Yeah, I'm going to wallop. Tommy gets away. They both run upstairs. And this is probably one of my favorite parts where Jason is busting down the door, much like The Shining. And unlike The Shining, Trish grabs the fucking TV and smashes it over his head.
And she does a good job of really demonstrating how fucking heavy an 80s TV was. This little like an 8-inch TV, she's treating it like it weighs 70 pounds because it
did. Yeah. Because it was all full of tubes and shit. And she just smashes him over the head with it. She tries to get away. She tries to like split her and Tommy up. She lures Jason away, and like you're kind of given to the idea that Jason is more interested in killing her than Tommy for whatever reason. Perhaps just because he thinks it'll be easier to kill Tommy later. Who knows? Trish and Jason are fighting, and while they're fighting, Tommy gets the idea to give himself a haircut. Which is
in short order.
Yeah, he thinks he's gonna look like Jason as a kid it just felt awkward to me. It felt super. I didn't love it.
It's weird because if you did again, it's kind of like the first movie where if you described this ending to me, I'd be like, "Fuck you," but then it kind of works. Like, so I guess 2 questions. One. How does he know what kid Jason looked like? Am I missing?
Well, he has a newspaper clipping that Rob was carrying. Rob had all the newspaper clippings from the killings over the years, and then there's a depiction of kid Jason.
Is there? Okay, may have missed that one, but then. He is able. Listen, as a man with a beard who has shaved his beard off on many occasions and shaved his head on many occasions, it takes a minute.
Yeah,
you got to get the beard trimmer out. You got to cut off the long hair, then you shave with the. He just has long, bowl cut, thick hair, and just covers his head like it's like he washed his hair with shaving cream and then took a Bic razor and shaved it all off.
Yeah.
If he did that, it would take 2 hours and his head would be covered in blood.
Well, even, and I know I'm like supposed to be defending the film, but why wouldn't he have like a bald cap on hand?
Yeah,
if he's so into special effects.
I know. I know.
My only defense for that situation, I'll put it in favor of it. Granted, yes, real life. This is not real life. But I think it aids in like everything that could possibly happen. Like, so I guess I actually can take this back. And the more I talk out loud, is that I think it's a good scene in that setting up a future film where Tommy is just fucking nuts and out of his fucking mind. But
that's later.
Right, but that's why I also think even just starting with him shaving his head, I think that was like first start of like a trauma response. And I think I do like think that everything after that though that I'm sure you'll talk about, I think sets up for like another film, but this was supposed to be the last one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what this is more of a callback to is actually the final girl whose name is escaping me at the moment. She discovers Jason's shrine to his mother. And Jason's shrine to his mother includes like her sweater and her decaying head. And so the woman puts on Jason's mother's sweater and tries to convince Jason that she is his mother. And it stops him in his tracks just long enough for her to throw a machete through his like shoulder. So it's kind of a callback to that, but like now Tommy is trying to pretend to. It's kind of just like bad writing, because like why would Tommy pretending to be Jason stop Jason? You know?
Yeah.
So
I was looking. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so like, I don't know, the way you can read it is that like it doesn't actually trick Jason, because he still looks like he's going to go kill Tommy. He just looks like maybe he's annoyed and he's like, oh, is he making fun of me like all the other kids used to? I'm going to go kill that little shit.
Yeah, that was
Jason's like Elon Musk right now with his Twitter shit.
Yeah.
I just like, yes, it somehow makes sense, even though it's, I don't know, if you really think about it, it kind of sucks, but it works in the moment. Like with all the hectic shit that's going on, it kind of works in the moment. This is a little bit of a sidebar, but I think worth mentioning. Steve, I was just looking up real quickly because I couldn't remember the name of the kind of final girl character from part 3, which is Chris.
Okay.
And I just looked it up. Dana Kimmel played her, and it calls out in the first like little blurb about her that part 3 actually debuted at #1 in the box office.
Oh yeah.
So it did do pretty darn well alongside the first and the second one, because in my mind it was a big dip before 4, but apparently not.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. It might have made less money,
right?
But it was still #1 in the box office, and which justifies the big spend with this movie.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And even shitty movies can hit #1. You know, if you're releasing,
that's true. It's all about what it's up against, right?
If you're released in February, you're almost guaranteed to get money. So
that's true.
But
this released on Friday the 13th, 19, or part 3, not this. Friday 13th, August 13th, 1982.
Ooh, that sounds right up your alley. It's right around your birthday. That is your birthday.
Yep, that was 3 years before I was born, though. But
but it still happened.
yeah.
But we're pretty much at the end now. Though there is Tommy is distracting Jason, but then Trish re-distracts Jason just enough to knock his mask off with the machete, and then you get goober face Jason.
Can we call him Gooby Face Jason?
Sure, you can. Yeah.
It's okay. I don't mind his face here. No. It's not as good as what, 7?
Oh,
7 is a cooler. That's like when I think it's 7 when Jason is pretty much like a dinosaur. His face doesn't even look human at all, which I kind of like.
I want to believe that throughout every single film, he's like just slowly decaying. And then like what we don't know, because he doesn't talk at all, is that he's just in this other universe where he's just trying to get back and like just trying to get like trying to find this like special medicine to make him like not
it's a
look
supernatural kind of.
I just made that up again.
Kind of like a
films,
Bigfoot.
TM, let's fucking go. I'm like on it today.
He's flying through the multiverse hand in hand with Bigfoot.
You want to know what's sparking is I'm watching Russian Dolls right now, and like, yeah. So it's just sparking all of that type of stuff.
Meg is on a time travel kick.
Yeah.
All right.
Life is not real.
Anywho, Tommy picks up the machete and gives Jason a good old whack right in the fucking head. And this is probably one of the most satisfying deaths of like any monster I can think of. Like, even in further Jason incarnations, like this, you get the melty in 8. I forget how they take him out in 7, but
in the water.
Do they just send him back into the lake?
Yeah, it's in the lake because I remember she had killed her. Yeah, he had killed her. That's basically Jason versus Carrie.
Right, yeah, that's Jason versus Carrie. But she just sends him back into the lake. But yeah.
But then didn't she set the water on fire or something? I think there's fire involved. I don't remember.
I don't know. That's yours.
That is mine too.
Yeah. But he's dispatched with a machete in his head. He falls down and like his head slides down the machete. You can tell this is just Tom Savini's, piece de resistance.
Yeah, he's just showing off at this point. It's such a fucking cool effect.
And like they built like an animatronic head so it could have the machete, and it's like split in half, but like the face is moving while it's bleeding out. It's great.
So it rules so fucking hard.
Yeah, fucking rules hard.
It rules so fucking hard.
And then you get Trish waking up in the hospital, and Tommy, for some reason, still hasn't shaved his head all the way. He still has he's
still got these little tufts of hair.
Yeah.
Well, I assumed Tommy's lost his shit now because he also just goes batshit on Jason with the machete after that too. Like he's just fucking swinging at him and hacking at him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's obvious. They obviously had maybe something in mind, because Like, Tommy does lose his shit at the end. He does hack his head up. And then, like, the very final frame is him giving this really disturbing look at the camera to imply maybe he's going to be the new killer.
Well, yeah, and Tommy was supposed to be basically the antagonist of the franchise moving forward if they were going to pursue it after that. And it obviously didn't happen.
Did they try? Because, I mean, obviously in the number 6, we'll get into yours, and he's not that, but like, or you know what I mean? Like, but they try in 5?
Kind of, but it's like a red herring type situation.
Gotcha.
And 5 fucking was the biggest probably misstep of the franchise. People, even though I think 5 is kind of maybe unfairly maligned, but Jason isn't the killer. And it ends up being spoiler alert here for a 20-some-year-old movie.
About this a while ago,
but it's just like a random ambulance driver, basically, who is the killer.
Yeah, but it's a good film except for the ending, because like the who they reveal as the killer doesn't feel as earned as it should be. But they do some really good stuff as far as, because I keep calling, I always call it an American Giallo film, because it's like the first film in that you never see the killer, you just see the killer's hands.
Yeah.
And so you never see Jason until the very end, but it's not Jason, it's Roy. But you see Jason throughout the film as Tommy is experiencing hallucinations of Jason. So like you see Jason, and then you see people getting killed, and that's the link you make. And then like there is literally like aspersions cast on everybody that they might be the killer. But it's
very Giallo-esque in that way,
But you think you generally think Tommy's probably the killer, but then everybody else around him also has motivation to kill. So it's a good film except for the ending, because the killer isn't earned.
Gotcha.
It feels like they pulled somebody out of that, like one of the, it was almost like they took their cues from one of the shittier episodes of Law and Order, where just like it's one guy they interviewed on the street in the first 5 minthere ends up being the killer.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what it feels like a little bit.
Yeah. Not great, but 4 is great. So there is almost no faults in this game. And, you know, especially when you compare it to all the other films, like you can tell they just put everything into this one with all the window action. So much window action. Shotgun and beers and twins. And it had boobs.
And
I almost feel like right now he's like, Megan, there's shotgunning beers and there's boobs in here.
And there's old smut.
You got, do I get your vote? You know what I mean?
Like not even old, like silent era smut. Yeah,
old smut.
Not a selling point,
which I appreciate. All right, let's get into my pick, which is Jason Lives 1986, which is, of course, Friday the 13th, Part 6. We kind of talked about, you know, where this one, you know, where the franchise kind of progressed. So I won't belabor that too much, but with 4, that was the big budget kind of ending. This is when Jason is supposed to eat shit, and then they come back in 5 and they do this kind of Giallo-ish type of thing where they end up having all these, you know, red herrings, and you think Tommy Jarvis is going to be the killer, but then it ends up being a fucking random ass, you know, EMS driver. Pissed a lot of people off. I think a lot of people did not appreciate that twist. Felt like it wasn't earned. And so in 6, they completely went in completely the opposite direction, like almost to the point where I would say like overcorrected, where I mean, in some people's eyes, I think it's fucking perfect blend, which we'll talk about here in a second. But they went with this kind of bigger budget 80s flick feel, but they made it way more theatrical, way more kind of like gross out scenes, way more like lighthearted and fun in a lot of ways. And you notice right away in the opening scene with a now grown Tommy Jarvis, which really throws off the like between 4, 5, and 6, which are all supposed to happen within like a certain amount, not too long of a distance. Tommy Jarvis goes from like 10 to like 17 to like 25 years old. So there is a little bit of confusion in terms of the timelines. And I did read online people talking about, although this movie was released in 1986, that it's more likely that it's set in like 90 or 91 or something like that. Because it just would have to, in terms of what age Tommy is. But you pretty quickly understand that the tone of this film is not taking itself very seriously at all. Like, it's bigger from a production standpoint, like on par with 4 in that way. Maybe not in the same way from a like practical effects standpoint, but in terms of some of the shots that they do, there's way more kind of panning, like kind of more grandiose feeling, like panning shots. It just feels like it's more of this kind of like, I don't want to say blockbuster feel, but it does feel like it has a very different tone in that way.
Even the cinematography is really, really good.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of strong, like dramatic lighting, and then like contrasting lighting. So like one of the things that really sticks out to me is like there's scenes like on the dock at night where you have incandescent lights that are orange, and they're set against the blue background of the woods. So like it's a really well filmed shit movie.
Totally. It's way more contrasting. It almost feels more like I don't know how else to say it, like weirdly like an action movie in a way.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's definitely a horror movie. There's definitely a lot of like kind of gross out scenes and all those sorts of things. But it feels a little bit more like, not even action, but it feels more like an adventure movie at times. You know what I mean? You get Tom Matthews playing grown ass Tommy Jarvis, who is now in the graveyard digging up Jason's corpse because he wants to be sure that he's dead, basically. And there's this very cartoonish, like there are scenes in this film or in this opening sequence that remind me very much of The Burbs in a lot of ways, coincidentally, talking about Corey Feldman. But you get what I would say, in my opinion, and, I know a lot of people are diehard like Kane Hodder fans and stuff, but like CJ Graham is, in my opinion, the best Jason. Like, thick boy Jason, like he's ready to, like he's a little beefier, he's a little bit more intimidating. I like the way he walks. I just have always been a big fan of CJ Graham as Jason in this movie.
Yeah. This is definitely when you first get like a Jason that just stomps around like the Terminator.
Yeah.
Like
there's no stealth to it. He is just, if he doesn't get caught, it's just good luck that he didn't, because he is not trying to be stealthy. He's not hiding in the woods. He's just stomping around like a fucking psycho.
Yeah. There's, and it becomes very clear that there's like no stopping him because he's undead.
Yeah.
And he learns,
this is what
he learns quickly that he can't be stopped. So
this is the movie where he becomes full on undead. Like now Jason's is a goddamn Frankenstein. Like he's just ready to fucking he doesn't care. He's invincible. He doesn't feel pain. He doesn't die. Like this is unstoppable Jason to the to the 11th degree. You know what I mean? There's just so many cool, like almost hero type of shots with this. And then the kills, this is when some of the kills start to get really cartoony. When he punches through people's chests. And the freaking, this movie does not take itself very seriously at all. And it's weird because it really strikes this, like we've talked about in the past, how certain movies, when they try to capitalize on the camp kind of element of it, it comes across very disingenuous. And we've used like Uninvited as an example where it's like they genuinely thought they were making something scary. This is a weird balance because they make fun of the genre and what they have kind of created, but at the same time, they don't really make fun of Jason, I feel like. Right. So he remains threatening. But I mean, even just go as far as like, I love that they do this little like James Bond pose at the beginning. Like it's so silly. And it's like if it almost reminds me of like like the movie Airplane or something like that mixed in with like a Friday the 13th movie. But they just balance it so well.
Yeah, there are so many like little jokes and silly things, and it's honestly one of my bigger problems though, because I like all the silly stuff.
Me too. Because there's like flat out Looney Tunes shit. Like there are full on Looney Tunes bits in this movie.
Yeah, when he throws a guy into a tree and the tree has a smiley face impression.
Yeah,
like
that definitely stuck out to me too.
Well, the smiley. I think the smiley face was there.
No,
before.
It wasn't. No,
I think it is.
No, because he throws him at a branch. Like when he flies at the tree has like a branch sticking out. So I think it's just a straight Looney Tune thing.
Really?
Like
I really took it as like there was already a smiley face there and he happened to hit his face right on the smiley face.
I don't think so.
All right, I need to go rewatch it. Anyway, it is either way you cut it, it's a fucking Looney Tunes ass bit. I mean, when he smashes the I'm just going to call him Ned because he is basically the Ned of this movie. When he's driving the Winnebago and he slams her face like into the metal and you actually see the outline of her face, like that's a Daffy Duck bit. 100%.
So that's a Daffy Duck bit, and also, but there's so many references, and I'll get to them in a minute. But what I was saying about like what I don't like is that I like all the funny stuff because the funny stuff buys you purchase to be mean. Mm-hmm. So like so it builds goodwill with the audience to, you get this goodwill by being funny that you can do worse stuff later. Yeah. But the thing is, they never do worse stuff, and the effects eat ass in this film.
They're not as good as 4. 100%. They're not as good as 4. But the cinematography is way better than 4.
Yeah, cinematography is better, but
so it's a trade-off. It's definitely a trade-off in my mind. But I do like I very much respect I love the tone of this movie. The soundtrack in my mind is the best one of the franchise. Harry Manfredini comes back and I think, I'm not 100% on this, so don't quote me, but I think this is the first movie since the first one where he writes an entirely new score, certainly with elements from the first one, but I feel like the scores from basically 1 through up to this point are just remixing, not even remixing, but like what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of rearrangements in a lot of ways of the first film, and this one has its own score. Besides, the Alice Cooper stuff, and
right,
fucking also rules because I love Alice Cooper, and the Man Behind the Mask is a fucking awesome song, and then like Teenage Frankenstein's in it, like there's just so many fucking good scenes in this, so many fucking good songs in this movie. But yes, the kills are not as good as 4. Tom Savini, I don't think was involved. Nope. Which is a tick against it in my book, but CJ Graham is the best fucking Jason in my mind. That's can obviously be debated, but I think the balance of silliness and creepiness is just really tough. This is the movie in the franchise for me that is the most fun. Yeah. Like Friday the 13th is not, it's not the Exorcist franchise. Like it's not fucking, Hereditary. Like it's not a movie I'm trying to watch for scares. It's a movie I'm trying to watch for atmosphere and for just like the joy of silly slashers. And it just like really is the only slasher I can think of that is kind of fully self-aware, but isn't like gauche in the way it is self-aware. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's like so many meta jokes in this because like they have the Karloff mercantile. Reference to, Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
They have Cunningham Road, which is a reference to Sean Cunningham. They have that one dude that's bumbling his ass around in the woods, and his name's Roy, which is a shot at the last movie.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
And just one more that really sticks out is they have the little girl named Nancy who's having nightmares. Like, she's being plagued by a monster. I mean, come on. It's Nightmare on Elm Street.
It is very it is a love letter to the genre without, like I said, being like gauche and over the top. You know what I mean? Like it influenced. There's a million movies that tried to do this after that just weren't able to get that balance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is one of those things, like, this is dramatic, I get it, but it's almost like it's, that old adage when they talk about Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground, like, only not a lot of people gave a shit about the Velvet Underground, but the people who did, they all started bands. Like, I feel like that's a little bit what happened with this movie. So I'll say right off the bat, and it comes up pretty early, and I kind of like it, but at the same time, I think if there's one place where it does go a little over the top into that kind of silliness, is the whole like paintball scene, which I love Jason in broad daylight like that. And I like when Jason comes up, but at the same time, the two like brothers who are like on the corporate pinball retreat with the other woman, like, it did give me a little bit Halloween 5 vibes, a little bit with like the silly cops and stuff, because they do have this like weird over the top, like military-ish type of song, like type of piece of music that kind of plays over top of it, which
I'm wondering if there's deeper reference to that, because like we already mentioned, like, there's a character in this scene called Roy, which I think is a shot at 5, but like, do you think that these three characters that get beheaded all at once, and they're part of a corporate like a corporate outlook, is that reference to maybe like studio execs that were behind decisions of 5?
Maybe a subversive take on like, we are taking this back and we are killing the corporate entities that made the franchise fall off or something. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're probably right. Like, that would be very much in line, because that's a very Carpenter-esque thing to do, and this movie pays homage to so many other directors and filmmakers, so you're probably right.
Yeah, it's just something I'm like guessing though, but it just, like you're saying, as a whole the scene feels out of place, but in that context it's funnier and would make sense.
And this is probably their take on like trying to be subversive in that way. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a good point. That makes me feel better about that scene. But it's otherwise it's like, what the fuck? We talked about the blood on the smiley face, but also we didn't talk about when he rips the guy's arm off and then just kind of looks at it like he's not expecting to see it. That's a Looney Tunes bit. Like, it's so, and it's so wild to me. And I don't even know where I heard this, but I think it was on some podcast I was listening to or something, with like a comedy writer or whatever, and they were like, all the best bits to this day still come from Looney Tunes cartoons. And I was like, I never thought of that before, but it's 100% true. Like, all the best comedy is still derivative in so many instances of fucking Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Porky Pig and that stuff. Like, and this movie is just like, just has that on full display.
I find it interesting you guys keep like referencing that. I see it so clearly now, because there's like so many things that I like that you guys like pointed out that I was just like, huh. All I'm saying is, like, I'm reevaluating all my opinions right now. But yeah, so that's why I'm like being quiet. I'm just like listening now, because I'm like, all right.
Don't reevaluate too hard, Meg.
No,
it might work in your favor. It might work in your favor.
Okay. But I'm saying
okay, then reevaluate. Then
but it's
Steve's
still,
tone changes.
Yeah, it's still like it's still a bad movie. It has no boobs and the effects are really terrible. So like, don't.
Oh, shut up. All right. Tom Matthews kind of looks like Crispin Glover. I don't know. That's just a note I had. I do really love
Crispin Glover, dude.
Yeah, I do genuinely appreciate him. I like that the guy who is like the grave, like he's the guy who basically covers up that Jason has escaped the grave because he doesn't want to get in trouble. He's like the cemetery caretaker. Says, does he think I'm a farthead? It's a great line.
He was like a character I really should appreciate. At one point I tried to like screenshot a couple, like when he's wasted and walking along the road and he was just like, I've lost the road, and like somehow got really in my head about it being like have this grander meaning, like, yeah, bro, I lost my road too, I'm trying to find it as well. Like,
well, and I love when he takes a drink, like he takes a swig out of his bottle of booze, and the way he plays it, and I honestly think this is on purpose because I'll support it in my next scene as well, is whenever he takes a swig of the booze and he makes it seem like the effects of the booze are immediate. Like he takes a drink of it and he's just like, now I'm drunk. Like he just, you know what I mean? Like the booze, the second it hits his belly, it just provides him relief. I think we call that alcoholism. And then I know, but like the fact that it's like such an unrealistic response to a swig of booze that like it was mind altering immediately. Yeah. Like it's like heroin or something. Yeah. I feel like that is similar to the next scene where I saw people like posting online and, you know, on like message boards when I was reading about like criticisms and stuff about this movie. But when they the guy who I'll just call Ned, and the girl, again, I don't even remember their names. They're pretty inconsequential characters, but when they are fucking in the camper, it's like the least erotic sex in cinema history. Yeah. Like so much so that there's no nudity. Like it's just so intentionally goofy and not erotic, I think is the same reason why they gave him the direction to act like that's how alcohol works, because it's like a take on like how just like it's a nod to how dumb some of the relationships with like drugs and alcohol and sex are in the other movies. You know what I mean? Like I think this movie has proven itself to be kind of meta enough to be operating on that level. You know what I mean? Okay. But anyway, so that's what I appreciate about it. And even if that's not true, like I don't know. I just would find it hard. Everything else is so tongue in cheek, right? And everything else is so meta, and it speaks to how well balanced the movie is because they're doing all this kind of like subversive stuff that's like making fun of the rest of the franchise, but it never does it in a way that makes the audience feel stupid for liking it. Yeah.
And
you know
like,
what I mean?
Yeah. And even all of that, like all of that seeps into so far as it even goes into the editing. So like it's definitely provable how purposeful everything in this movie is because it goes all the way into the editing. You mentioned how the gravedigger says, what does he think, I'm a fart head? And the immediate cut to that is kids yelling yay.
Yeah.
They're all saying yes. So like that's the
bit.
immediate
like
cut.
That is another fucking that's like a Smothers Brothers bit.
Yeah, that's a bit. There's Jason throws a sharp object and puts it dead center in somebody's head. The immediate cut after that is to a dartboard.
Yeah. Like it's so, all very almost
so intentional.
Not even airplane, but like Lethal Weapon, or not Lethal Weapon, Naked Gun.
Naked Gun, yeah. There is one very airplane Naked Gun Zucker Brothers joke in there that is so quick you'll miss it, and it just makes no sense. But there's a scene where all the kids are going to bed, and one chubby faced little girl has a book on her chest, and the book is No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre.
Okay.
Nobody like John. If anybody who knows Jean-Paul Sartre, he's an existentialist philosopher. No kid under 10 is reading.
See, that's great. That's like I never noticed that before, but that's such a great bit. That's an airplane bit. Yeah. That's like Hot Shots Part 2 kind of bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it. I love just how like the fucking dumb scene with, like I said, part 6 Ned, where he's driving the Winnebago, and he just keeps going like, this is great, boy, this is really great.
This is great so many times.
I love it. It's so funny. And then that's when you get her face like, pressed against the metal type of thing, and Teenage Frankenstein playing. Like, that whole scene's fucking great. And then the Winnebago flipping, and then Jason just popping out and standing on top, it just rules.
Yeah,
like, that
so
scene
epic.
just fucking rules.
And that goes into your, like, talking about how it's like an action film now, because they roll a Winnebago like practically.
It's perfectly
it's so
executed
great.
too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. And then I love the one girl, which I just can't stop referring to her as Lisa Turtle. She has Lisa Turtle from Saved by the Bell's hair perfectly. I can't get over, and I wonder if this was kind of an inside jokey type of thing where she's wearing suspenders under a shirt. Like, it's just such a bold choice. I don't know why that just tickled me. But this is where she doesn't get yeeted as much as she gets yoinked, like out the window. Like, to yourself, you don't go like yeet, you go yoink. Like, she gets yoinked through the window. And then I just like, there's a really, like I said, creepy scene where that same girl I think it's the same girl who's reading the book you were talking about, sees, Jason's kind of lurking outside the bunks at this point before he comes inside, and she kind of sees him out the window. Like, it's a creepy scene. It's like Jason is like lurking around, he's like a wild animal that's escaped or something. You know what I mean? Like, he has no, like we said earlier, he's not hiding. He's not being slick. He is just like, he has no sense of like self-preservation at all. He's just like a wild animal on the loose kind of thing. But there's also a very comedic, again, Naked Gun style scene where Megan makes Tommy put his head down in her crotch, and is like basically like trying to like suggesting that he's gonna give her roadhead basically, and then
missed opportunity. I kind of wish that was, because even seeing her drive the car, I'm like, come on, guys.
Well, she even says like, that's where I want you or something, and then she goes, and then she's like, hold on, here's a hairy turn. Like, there's some like really crass kind of humor in there, which I like. But yes, even some of the off-screen kills are like simultaneously brutal and silly, where like he comes in, and I don't even remember who he kills, but he comes into the room and just grabs her, and then it's like, oh, that was kind of an off-screen kill, blood splashes on the window, but then he throws her through the window and then grabs her and pulls her back in.
Defenestration is like a hallmark of this franchise, and if somebody's not getting thrown through a window, did you make a Jason film?
Yeah, that's true. That's maybe one of the most critical elements of this franchise. But overall, just the character of Megan is just, I fucking love this character. One of the best lines in the franchise, when they do the old West switcheroo, where they trick the stupid, shitty deputy into getting, into like luring them into false sense of security, where Megan can grab his gun with the big silly laser scope on it. And when he's like, you're gonna regret this, give this up or whatever, and she says, I'm not the one with the funny red nose, and she's pointing the laser scope on his nose. Just such a great line.
I do have a very selfish comment in general, because I was like happy to see a character named Megan that was like more of a heroine who wasn't a shitty character. You don't end up hating at the end of it. And this is like after me sending you guys even that preview or that poster for that new movie called Megan, which basically looks like Megan's this like creepy doll. And I'm like, many, Megan has used that context, guys, a lot. And it's a personal thing for me. So
the name Megan is dragged through the mud.
You mean,
and I feel for you.
You mean Thregan?
It's like, yeah, S cream.
Yeah. It's like a shitty robot fucking movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I literally only saw that still image you sent, but there's a silly scene with the kid praying where Jason like is over top of her, but then gets kind of pulled away. Like that was a little silly. I don't know if it was. I mean, I can't tell if it was meant to be funny or add tension or both. I don't know.
Yeah, that scene didn't do anything for me because
same. I didn't love it.
Yeah, this is where like they should have just taken the kids off the table. If you're not going to really actually imperil them or kill them or do anything with them, just take them off the table, because like when he's walking through the bunks, he's passing all these other easy targets.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, that's not Jason.
Well, at this point, I think it's safe to say he's after Tommy, though.
Not really, because he's still killing everybody else in the camp.
He is, but everyone else is kind of just like in his way in a you know what I mean? Like I said, he's just like a wild animal that's running amok. But
right.
He can ultimately, ultimately it feels like Tommy is in the back of his head. I don't know.
This movie definitely makes it feel like he has more of a choice. Whereas, like, even going back to my comment about the first one, and I feel the same way about the number 4, where like there is this level of chaos in what Jason does.
Yeah.
That you know,
he's
like,
a little bit less predictable in this one.
So I feel like I had a similar feeling because there was actually one chick that just kind of like went back to bed, and I was like, did we even see her get killed? Like the one that the Lisa Turtle character. That
but she's in the bed beside her, and she's like, go get him, or
pretend
go teach
to be
him a lesson or whatever.
Pretend to be sleeping, and then you're going to live or something like that, like play dead. And I feel like, again, I do agree that like I felt like that was a little out of character too. I did make that note for myself.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely were setting up some, like, they were trying to set up kills a little bit at times, it felt like, but I mean, I guess you could probably call that out with any film in this franchise. But I do like the silliness of like when they go into the room where that girl, I think, is the one who was killed, and the bunk is just like, the amount of blood in the bunk is just so gratuitous. It looks like 4 cows worth of blood were just like sprayed all over the room.
I wish I had that job. I would have loved that job.
Just a blood spray person. Yeah. And then you get Jason with the throwing knife, which is just such a silly in the best possible way. I only noticed this for the first time in this watch is when Megan's dad, the cop, who is trying to protect her, but also protect the kids. And like, you do feel for him a little bit, even though he was a total prick earlier in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, you do spin around to start caring for him a little bit, goes in and tells all the kids to get under the bed in the bunk. And he puts all the kids in one bunk. And then we tells him that there's just a scene of all the kids diving under the bunks. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the way that the one guy dives into the lake when they think that Ned is drowning in the first movie, and basically does like a belly flop, like this really clumsy, shitty dive. All the kids do that, and I like to imagine that was a callback, but I don't think it was.
Who knows? Maybe it was. I mean, because there's a yellow VW Beetle in this movie, which is a callback. It's callback to 3. So who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Now I'm starting to convince myself that it was on purpose.
Yeah.
So, quick question. The one deputy cop, not the one that gets locked in the cell, but the other one who first finds the little girl who's like, there's a scary man, blah, 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 you know? Mm-hmm. And then Jason comes around and then just snaps, like twists his head, basically, I think.
Mm-hmm. He gives him more the compactor. Yeah.
He crushes
compactor, guys.
Yeah. And then like they find him on the ground, and of course there's like blood coming out of his eyes and stuff, but it looks like there's a bunch of boogers coming out of his nose too. And I'm like, does that happen when you die? Is it like how you void your bowels when you die, but all the boogers launch out of your nose too?
Well, it's not like that. It's like when Jason compresses your head and squeezes the boogers out your head.
And all the boogers comes out like a toothpaste tube.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to imagine that.
Yeah, he squeezed them from the back, and it was allergy season.
And then quickly after this, probably the funniest bit of the movie, which is Jason keeps popping up, and then playing possum, and then popping up again, then playing possum. Just such a fucking funny bit, but also like the music is so earnest that it's like, yeah, this is scary, but it's so silly.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after that, maybe my favorite line in the movie, which is the kids that are hiding in the bunk under the bed, and he says something about earlier when they hear somebody screaming, he's like, "We're dead meat," and then he's like, "We're definitely dead meat." And then the one kid turns to the other kid and goes, "What were you going to be when you grow up?" It's like such a perfect black comedy line of like these kids who have just accepted they're going to die. Like it's just so grim but so funny at the same time.
There's a great thing with them earlier on too, because they're getting like Boy Scouting tips or whatever from Ned.
Oh yeah, from shitty Part 6 Ned.
Yeah, and they say, "Oh, if this is the best it's gonna get, we're gonna be in big trouble." And then immediate cut to Jason walking through the woods. It's just more comedy editing. Yeah.
Here's the part that I really thought was like a good way that they made things feel higher stakes and scarier is like the performance by Megan's dad, the cop, I think it's a pretty good performance. Like it's very desperate. Like he definitely communicates the desperation of the situation well. And he kind of does all the right things. Like a lot of times in this movie, you're like, why would you do that? You asshole. Don't go out and, explore the woods. Don't do this. Don't do that. He actually does the things that you would expect a person with, that can operate under pressure to do. And then when Megan gets attacked, he runs and attacks Jason obviously to save her. Mm-hmm. But then he still gets folded in half like a lawn chair.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's silly, but also kind of terrifying because like he's not playing it for laughs and he was doing all the right things that maybe you would do in this situation, but then he still gets comedically murdered. Well,
and like, because he just at that point he had already thrown away his guns, knowing that like guns are ineffective.
Well, he ran out of ammo too.
Well, no, because I think he only shot Jason like 3 times with the pistol.
But I think Jason, the shotgun he threw away because he was out of rounds. I think.
Right,
and but then the pistol.
The pistol was a revolver, and I think he shot him. He shoots him twice, and then I think the third shot he hits him right in the head, and it doesn't do anything. That's right. And he just throws it. He doesn't. So he doesn't expend the mag. He just goes, "This isn't going to do shit," and runs away.
His head kind of pops back, and he's just like, "Fuck it," and then he runs into the woods. And then but so he gets it, and then Tommy, lures Jason away from. He's in the cabin with all the kids. Megan is, I forget, in there too, or is in harm's way. And Tommy lures Jason away from the kids by calling Jason a maggot head. And then also he's like, "Come on, I'm waiting for you, pussy." Like the way he calls him a pussy, it's so weird. Like the phrasing, he's like, "Yeah, pussy." And then, Tommy's plan, not well thought out. He did not expect Jason to just walk into the water, walk to the bottom of the lake. And then he just dumps gas all over the water, which I'm not really sure what his plan was there, but it looks rad. So
I think that was it. I think it looks rad. Yeah. That was the plan.
And then he does get Jason, which is to say Jason jumps out of the water behind him, which is obviously an homage to the first film. And then again, this is something that's throughout the franchise problematic for me, which is he just folded a guy in half, but now he like gets pushed overboard by Tommy fucking Jarvis. You know what I mean? Like he's the strength is never consistent at all. And that's through the whole film. That's through the Halloween franchise, like any, slightly supernatural serial killer kind of thing. But you do get a pretty good burn scene here until Jason just crossbodies the boat and breaks it in half. And then all this happened, and now Jason can't lift a rock off the bottom of the water. I don't love that part of it.
Right.
And then also, it made me laugh out loud. Solely my own, because I was watching this and I was a little bit stoned, and I was like, when the little kid goes, "Is he killed?" I was like, I wanted her to go, "What? Shut up."
What?
Like,
What?
no one says, "Is he killed?" No one says that. And then I imagine that scene or that line from Willy Wonka, and he's like, "Is he killed?" And I just wanted her to turn to him and go, "Open your mouth a little wider when you speak." I don't know why in my mind that just cracked me up last night. But Megan ultimately gets him with the outboard motor, and you just get a bunch of Jason chunks. She takes the outboard motor to the face, or he takes the outboard motor on the boat to the face, and then Megan saves Tommy. And then he's obviously not dead. You get the eyes kind of widening thing, and then you get again some Alice Cooper, Man Behind the Mask during the credits, which is fucking great.
I kind of presumed that Jason's blood might be like black and not red, but that was or like a weird color, or like, you know what I mean? I mean, I know why they did it, but like.
Yeah, that's true. At this point, when you've been dead in the grave for so long, why do you have bright red blood?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Whatever.
Undead Jason is the joke of a cruel god, so.
That's true. That's true.
It's like, why did lightning bring him back? Lightning didn't bring him back. A cruel god did.
Frankenstein shit, man.
Yeah, it's Frankenstein shit. So that's it. That is Friday the 13th, part 6. I mean, I gotta just call out, like, how fucking cool this soundtrack is between the man behind the... I think actually the song's called He's Back, in parentheses, the man behind the mask. Teenage Frankenstein, Hard Rock Summer. There is another sweet ass theme. Oh, what the hell is it? There's another movie on the sound, or there's another song which I'm floundering here trying to find the franchise, or I'm sorry, find the soundtrack, but it's the soundtrack in this one's my favorite of the franchise, which makes a big difference for me. But yeah, that's where we're at. So
let's go to the gauntlet.
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's vote. Is anybody switching their vote?
No.
I guess I'm playing devil's advocate in ways, and I'm going to say no for myself.
Okay. I am also not going to. So let's go in order that we discuss them.
I don't want that. I feel like...
Yeah, I know you don't. What
no.
your pick?
I feel like...
Well, here's what it comes out. Maybe that'll be anticlimactic.
I feel like I am going to be more of the deciding factor tonight.
That's probably true. So I will get that out of the way.
Let's just go for it, and you guys go. What is your second pick?
Yeah, that's probably fair. Mine is 4, because honestly, to me, 4 and 6 are a toss-up. I really could pick either one of these in terms of my favorite movie in the franchise. I am gonna just eke out 6, but there's a lot of trade-off there. But I am definitely gonna say 4 as my second pick.
Yeah. I was actually kind of conflicted going into this, but then Brian actually hurt the original in my mind a lot because he reminded me of all the things it stole from. And I was like, yeah, actually that first one wasn't that original. It just lifted a bunch of things.
Oh yeah. It's the most rip-off movie ever in a great way. It did it masterfully, but
yeah. But like the things I love about the first one are like the Tom Savini effects, obviously, and like there's a lot of good things about the first one. And it, like, if you're watching a Jason movie, like you want boobs and you want blood, and 6 lacks, but also it has so many other good things about it. But yeah, that's why I take 6 as my second choice. Okay.
All right. So this is why I figured I was going to be the toss up, because even just after our conversation, and like even rewatching it, I think there are just like really good things that one still brings to the table that like kicked off this franchise. So but like, I'm not offended that I know mine wasn't going to probably win after rewatching it. I, walking into this, definitely felt more attached to 6, but I feel like that came from a spot of like maybe immaturity in my own like watching of horror films, but also watching of this franchise. And then I felt a little more attached to 4 after like us discussing it and then thinking about what are like the things that I would expect out of this franchise. And again, we could probably argue for this too, or you guys could correct me, of like, when I think about this franchise, I do think about slashers. I do think about like less of the comedy and like more of, boobs, slashing, let's go for the general things. But I do still feel conflicted. Did you guys want to add any comments after I just said that? Of like what the other films could bring to the table to like give me any sort of final say on it? Did any other ones hit more of like slasher, or did they all go like their own completely different route?
I mean, 2 and 3 are pretty straightforward slashers. Yeah. 4, I think, has more character development and all that sort of thing. 5 went giallo. 6 went cartoonish. 7 went supernatural.
Yeah. It's supernatural, but it's still
really dumb.
8 is I haven't seen it in so long. It's so hard for me to like, but it just doesn't work a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. 8 was pretty lowbrow in a lot of ways. I still like it, but 8 was more like exploitation to me in a lot of ways because it like was a bait and switch almost. And then 9 went supernatural, and then 10 went into space. So it's all the franchise is all over the fucking place. It definitely
has been all over the place. I guess if we're thinking about like even just like some, because 6 definitely was like touching on slasher, touching on like OG stuff of like we're bringing it into the camp and stuff like that. I do think my heart is like going towards 4 for my final answer, specifically because if I'm thinking about if I have to make the final choice, then I think that one might touch on like the best of the 3. Brian, but I do have to say that I'm not discrediting. I actually walked into this episode being like, I would rewatch 6 over and over again. I would genuinely.
I think 4 is the best version of the just a pure slasher, whereas 5 is giallo slasher, 6 is comedy slasher, 7 is supernatural slasher, 8 is money grab slasher. 9 is money grab slasher, but worse. 10 is fun. 10 is fun.
But Steve, I do have to say, in me choosing your film, I'm hoping you give us some leniency.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, I think Meg was gonna. I will say, honestly, 4's probably my 4. I might like 4, and I actually toyed with the idea of voting for 4 over 6 because I love 4 and 6, and they were neck and neck in my mind when we kind of drew straws on what we're going to pick, and then Steve picked 4, so I was like, oh, I'll pick 6. But I mean.
I don't think it's a bad pick. I literally feel like
Tom Savini, it would be far and away my favorite.
Oh yeah,
but
6,
sure.
It's missing the Savini magic.
Yeah, if 6 spent the goodwill it earned being funny, if it spent it on being fucking gross and crazy, it would have been. It'd be the best overall. But
it kind of peaks early on with that. That aspect of the movie peaks early on.
Yeah, that first scene is unbeatable.
I just don't want to see too many negative things about 6, just because like I genuinely had fun with it. I would watch that one again before I watch 4. But if I have to make a decision based on like us choosing this franchise, I would choose 4 as like representative.
I could not argue with that logic. I feel that is sound logic, but I do want you to fully understand the gravity of what you've done to us. And I want you to live with your decision and sit with your decision.
We're all going to live with this one.
a little terrified.
So as the new champ,
Steve,
How many times do I need to punch myself in the face?
so pleased with himself.
I did find my
now.
mushrooms and moving too. So if I need to watch mushrooms or take mushrooms, then I will do that.
hey, it might help.
Okay.
It might help. So, in past episodes, when I was granted my championship and my punishment movie was Cradle of Fear, which starred Danny Filth. So let's come back to this theme, and I'm going to pick a film that not only it doesn't star the heavy metal.
Oh, God damn it. I know what you're going to do.
Hey, Brian, you made reference to him earlier.
I know exactly what you're going to do. We're going to fucking watch
What is happening?
Glenn Danzig's movie, aren't we?
We're going to watch Glenn Danzig's directorial debut,
Oh, no.
Veronica.
Jesus Christ on a cracker, guys. I have not seen this movie. I saw clips of it, and it has been described to me as the most inept horror movie. Like somebody with good taste in horror movies said it was the most inept horror movie they'd ever seen.
You know, Steve, I love you, but I hate you right now. Like I'm.
Yeah. No, that's the point.
Here's my question: do we have to pay money for Veronica? Is it free to stream?
I will not. I better get Venmo money.
I will see about sending you cookie recipes.
Oh God!
I just don't want Glenn Danzig to spend my money on kitty litter. I actually have been meaning to watch this, and it's just one of those things where I couldn't bring myself to watch it because I heard it was so just abysmal. But I did. There were points of fucking Danny Filth's movie that I genuinely enjoyed.
Right.
So I'm hoping it's in that vein. We shall see.
Oh, I'm sure there's things to laugh at, but
yeah. Well, and when I say enjoyed, I mean laughed at. I'm getting a chuckle out of. So, oh God, all I'm imagining is that YouTube clip of in black and white of Danzig sitting by candlelight, going, there's lots of stories in the books of the Bible that were omitted from the Bible, like that fucking sketch. Oh,
I don't like the way you're talking about Glenn Danzig auteur.
He's so annoying. He's so frightening, and he never wears a shirt. Good God, guys! All right, we've brought this upon ourselves. We are going to watch Veronica by.
You know what, Brian? I might actually blame you here specifically because you could have been a little bit more stern. I almost think you handed
because
this one
in
to
my
me.
heart, I do think I like 4 better, and I kind of wrote my own death certificate here because I didn't argue about who should pick first, and Steve picked first because in my mind I was like 4 and 6 are equal. But then when I watched them literally back to back last night, I watched 1 the night before last, and I watched 4 and 6 back to back, and I was like, oh yeah, 4 is better. 6 is more unique, I would say, but 4 anyway. So I sealed my own fate here, but yeah. You heard it here, folks. We are checking out Mr. Glenjamin Danzig's directorial debut, Veronica. So go out and check that out. And we're going to talk about it next week. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, follow us on the social medias. If you can't find it, just go in the old search bar, type in Halloween is Forever. It's a damn little 8-bit pumpkin guy that Steve drew. And we got some spooky shit on there and videos of us, doing dumb stuff. And if you haven't already and you do follow us on those platforms, go follow us over on Tiki Talkies, because we also do have one of them Tiki Talkies. And we do occasionally shotgun beers on there as well. So any final thoughts? Anything else we need to discuss before we wrap up this sumbitch?
No, we're pretty good.
All right.
No, I'm probably gonna go smash
I'm gonna go sit in my dirty pee pants and imagine Veronica.
I'm still sitting in my dirty pants
all day. All right. For the Halloween is Forever crew, I'm Brian.
I'm Meg.
And I sit upon a throne of skulls in a hall of pain.
Ugh.
Blood.